In spite of leaks and harrowing presumptions, The Last of Us Part 2 is an exceptional video game. Sony comes out swinging with the PlayStation 5 reveal and exclusives, and beloved video games are now on Steam. Ladies and gentlemen, this is episode 235 of the It's Obvious podcast. My name's Garrett Drake. I'm joined online by Preston Pugh.
Greetings.
And Jacob Alka.
Hey guys, happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday indeed. It is a gorgeous, simply gorgeous morning here in Atlanta, Georgia. I had some major technical issues, but we have sussed them out, and I am prepared to just talk about many things we love in the video game world today. It's great to see you both. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great, personally. It was a really big week this week. A lot of exciting announcements, and I can't wait to talk about them.
Yeah, one of the biggest weeks in a while. I mean, it truly felt like an
E3
aspect
week.
of E3. Exactly. It wasn't quite the same, with like the live audience, the live presentations, and the crowd reactions. But internally, I could feel the hype, certainly across the internet. But it is a shame we didn't get to see it live. But a lot, like you said, a lot of exciting stuff to talk about. Preston, how was your week?
Oh, it was good. Definitely a lot more news than normal for sure. Like y'all said, very exciting. I personally got to play a few more video games than usual as well, so that was also exciting.
You still figuring out that your work schedule, how you can manage games into that?
Yeah. Which is funny because I actually worked way more this past week than I did the previous week, but I was able to get more game time in, especially yesterday on Saturday. I had a lot to do, but last night I was able to get in about an hour and a half or two of games, so that was exciting.
Excellent.
Beautiful.
So yeah, but I'm doing good.
Sweet. Yeah, my week was not necessarily exciting. Got to see a couple of friends outside of my apartment for once, which was really nice to see the world again. I went to a bar with a friend of mine, and it was an outdoor bar, which was convenient, I guess, for that establishment because everyone could like social distance outside. But it was kind of cool and heartwarming to see not only the people who work there, but the people that had come to hang out, just see happy faces and people laughing and hanging out again. Because I haven't seen groups of people like joyfully spending time together in months. So it was almost like being on a foreign planet because all I've seen online is just turmoil and arguments and dissension. And I've of course, for the most part, been cooped up in my apartment. I know I've seen you a couple times, Preston, but aside from that, I feel like I've been pretty isolated. So it was cool to see society relatively functioning again, in spite of the masks and everything. But it was nice to be outdoors for a little while in a group of people earlier this week. Aside from that, I didn't do much of anything, I don't think. I think that was the extent of my week. Just been applying to jobs left and right. So trust in the Lord's timing with that one, because it is very difficult to find a lucrative role in the season we're in. But
Yep.
It's on its way. So that's pretty much what I did this week. What about you guys?
On a more somber note, Garrett, is the Wendy's that burned down in Atlanta, is that really close to you?
Okay, I was unaware that it burned down.
Yeah, it burned down last night. They set it on fire.
So I saw, I'll have to Google which one it is, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, a lot happened yesterday.
Yeah, I was aware of what was going on, but I have not looked into which Wendy's it is in particular.
I think it's the one that's by the cookout, right? That's close to you? Don't you live really close to a cookout?
I mean, there's a Wendy's that's driving distance from me, but the cookout and Wendy's are pretty far from each other.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking of the wrong spot.
Yeah, I don't think it's by me.
I need to check again.
But that poor Wendy's, man, I feel bad for the owner and the employees.
I'm sure everyone got out, but my goodness.
Yeah, like I'm sure like no one was in there, but I just feel bad that now their jobs are kind of shot for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
I had a good week.
Right. Aside from the Wendy's burning down, I had a great week. What'd you do this week, Jacob?
Lots of work. Been doing some yard work outside. We have this hill back behind the house, and my father likes to keep it I guess groomed is the right word. So I always, every month or so I'll go back there and I'll take the weed eater to knock out all the weeds on the hill that grow. And some parts of it are really steep, so it's sort of a challenge to actually stand on it and balance myself, and also reach far enough to whack things with the weed eater. But that was a big thing that I did yesterday, I guess. But Besides that, been playing more games. Been watching Sword Art. Me and Preston were just talking about it before the show.
Yeah, like a couple of fangirls.
That's a light way to say it. I am full on addicted to the show, and you know, it's every once in a while like a show will come around where I just can't do it. I can't think about anything else, and I can't do anything else. And this is one of those shows.
Man, that's shocking to hear. I mean, I guess it's not shocking because Preston's praised it to the high heavens.
Truly warms my heart to hear this.
Yeah, I thought it
would. Jacob, are you enjoying this more than Hunter x Hunter?
I don't know. Overall, it's too early to say because I really liked Hunter x Hunter, but like I guess yeah. I think overall it's going to be one of my more favorites over Hunter x Hunter. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, Jacob. I haven't watched Hunter x Hunter since the last time I mentioned it on the podcast, whenever that was. It may have been 2 weeks ago for all I know.
That's disappointing.
Every time because I only ever watch TV shows and I'm like laying down to go to sleep. And every night I get in bed and I'm like, you know what? I think I'm too tired to like watch this anime. So it's not that I said it hasn't grabbed me yet. I'm sure it will in time, but I need the discipline to sit down and watch another episode. Yeah.
See, I'm kind of like that. Like I'll go into the, when I'm going to bed, I'll go into it thinking I'm going to check Twitter, I'm going to check Instagram, I'm going to check Facebook. And then if I'm still awake, I'll check, or I'll watch an anime. But lately I've just been falling asleep after I check like Twitter. Like I can't get through the checklist.
Yeah, but, our world's so crazy right now that it's like watching like a sci-fi movie or like a post-apocalyptic movie. Like every time you get on social media, it's like you just can't turn away. It takes all the discipline you have to just not look at it. Yeah. So that in and of itself has been a TV show in all the wrong ways.
And then you're reading everyone's uninformed opinions, and then it just makes you mad.
Exactly, yeah. I have to do my best to refrain from spending too much time on social media, especially these days, because it really is just mind-numbing and soul-sucking.
Right. But what I was getting to is that I usually just watch most anime while I'm eating a meal. I'll go through like 2 or 3 episodes.
See, that's what amazes me, dude. How can you eat food, watch an anime, and read subtitles all at the same time?
It's difficult.
Like, how is that even possible?
I often spill food on myself because I'm trying to read and eat at the same time.
Because it's already bad enough to have to like read subtitles. Not that I mind that. I mean, I'm totally used to it. But it's hard to truly appreciate the animation of any anime because you're having to read simultaneously. But to eat at the same time, Jacob, bold move, man.
It's a good argument. I mean, I probably do miss like, small bits of animation and bits of dialogue that, maybe would impact me more if I actually knew what they said or what was happening. But, it's just something that I've always done. Like, I love to eat meals and watch things at the same time. And that's not to say, like, I don't like eating meals with people. But, I don't know, I guess I'm sort of addicted to watching and eating at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's just what I do. And it's very easy to do when you're alone, too. So, whether or not that's a problem or not is, another discussion.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do is if I'm not watching it when I go to sleep, I just get a big old bag of popcorn and just sit on my couch and just watch like 5 episodes in a row by myself. It's great.
Yeah. See, popcorn's easier to do that with because, you just eat it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's sort of been my week.
Nice.
Like I said, I've been playing things, but, yeah.
Cool.
What about you, Preston?
Yeah, did you do anything else exciting this week, Preston?
Not really. Just worked and did that. Came back and played games and went to sleep pretty much.
Well, Preston, excellent segue. Gentlemen, what have we been playing?
Not Persona 5 as much as I'd like to. You
failed this city, Preston.
I know I have. I'm sorry. Last night I played about an hour and a half to 2 hours of it. Almost done with the third palace. Still loving it, of course. But for some reason I had a urge to go back to the original Dragon Age for some reason this past week. I know, I don't know why. I just saw the box art of it come up. I think I was like on GOG or something, and it was on sale for like $4.99 for the expansion and everything. So I just decided to buy it. I already had it downloaded on my Origin access thing, but I canceled that membership because I never use it. So I thought I'd just actually buy it so I could have, a copy for myself, not tied to a subscription. So I just started that up, and I love that game. It's great. I still think, and I know this isn't like a controversial opinion or anything, but I think it's the best Dragon Age game for sure. There's just like so many different roles that you can play. It's just feels much more like an RPG than, especially the second one. I do like that one as well, but even more so than the third one. I just prefer this combat in the first game, and I just really like the characters, and I don't want to use the word nostalgic because it's not like that old, but I do have fond memories of playing that game back on the 360. So this is my first time playing through it on a PC, which I believe there's a you can actually do like the tactical camera and pause time and stuff, which I don't believe you could do on the console version, the one that I played. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure about that. But yeah, I've just been dabbling in that, and
Dude,
Persona 5 pretty much.
Right when you mentioned Origin, I panicked for a second because I thought I still had my subscription going towards that service, but I just checked and it's okay. So everyone calm down. I'm not wasting money.
Man, thank you. Dude, I've wasted about 3 months of like $15, like $45 for no reason the past 3 months on that service. So,
well, there you go.
But yeah. Yeah,
so Dragon Age.
All I did game wise. Yeah. Dragon Age, just probably like 3 or 4 hours into that game. Playing, of course, my generic human male with a sword and shield. It's like every time I start that game, I'm going to either be an elf or anything. What's cool about Origins is like depending on the race that you pick, completely starts the game off different. Like if you're an elf, you can either be like a city elf or a woodland elf, or if you're a dwarf, I believe you can be like a dwarf that's like a noble or just like a commoner. I believe if you're a human, you have to be like a noble, the son of some king or like high up guy. I forget which it is. I don't think he's a king, but just like a kind of higher up dude. But yeah, I've in the several times that I've played that game, I always try and make my elf character or whatever, and then I always, before I get to the finish, I always go back and change it to human. I don't know why. I have the hardest time playing as like other races in games for some reason.
So you're profoundly racist is what you're saying.
Yeah, against elves and dwarves for sure. I don't know, it's just like I don't know. It's just I don't know.
Yeah. Because a lot of people avoid being humans because they are human, right?
Yeah, and I completely understand that. Like in a role-playing game, you want to do something that's like...
Yeah, you want to play a different role.
Exactly, but I don't know. I always have I make the same character in like every single game I play. They like all look the same, and it's just something that I tend to have a bad habit of doing. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm not too deep in the game. I'm gonna try and force myself to branch out a little bit and maybe be like a city elf or something like that.
I mean, if you're not comfortable or you don't find enjoyment in it, there's no reason to branch out, I
mean, I don't see why I wouldn't find enjoyment in it. And it's like, it's not even like the race is, I play the same role too. It's like I always am like the tank or something like that. But what's funny is that in my playthrough of Origins right now, I'm constantly switching over to the mage and playing range and like putting up shields and stuff. So I'm like, why don't I just make that my main dude? And that's what's cool about the game is you can control every single character. So if it's like I really want to play as a more melee focused guy, I can just switch over to that build that's already on my team. So I might as well just make like a magic based elf or something. So actually being a magic based user starts you off at a different point in the game as well. You're at a tower, like a school for mages and stuff, if you pick that class. So
makes sense.
Yeah, so very cool how you can start the game in completely different circumstances. People talk to you different based on like your race, and like I don't know if you know, I know you played Inquisition, but like I forget like the status at which like magic users are at that point of the universe, but I know in this one they're like
Apprentice.
They're kind of like secluded and kind of looked down upon, and they they have their own like magic circle or whatever. I
Sure.
get like the Elder Scrolls terms and all this stuff all mixed up with Dragon
Almost
Age,
like Witcher 3, where like the mages are like
kinda
scary
yeah.
or looked down upon.
For sure. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So
Okay.
but yeah, really, really enjoying that. Man, Persona 4, I know we'll talk about that, just came to PC. And even though I'm in 5, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that game so much. I love the soundtrack. Like I unfortunately, I never even beat it on Vita. I had like 70 something hours in it, and I had the freaking like twist of the game spoiled for me, which kind of soured me a little bit, but I still need to see that game through at some point. So seeing that's on PC now made me want to get it, but I like have to talk to myself. I'm like, dude, you're literally getting halfway through Persona 5. Why the heck would you get 4 on PC and start over again? It's just completely stupid.
You're basically on the eve of Last of Us 2.
I know.
So it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense at all. But
it'll be there waiting for you though when you need it.
Exactly. That's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, it's not going anywhere. And by the time I get to it, it'll probably be on sale or something like that. So I won't even have to spend like the $20. So yeah. But that's pretty much all I did this week. So
very nice.
What about you, Jacob?
So I've regressed back this week to only playing WoW, which is great, I guess.
Old habits die hard.
I did something actually really exciting this week, depending how you look at it. You can either call me a degenerate or, good, or you could say good job. So we'll see how you guys react. So I joined a raid team. I'm raiding again. And it's not hardcore raiding. So the difficulty is somewhat hard, but I'm only raiding 2 days a week for a total of 4 hours. So it's not like a huge time commitment. It's 2 nights during the week when I'm home from work and I'm not doing anything anyway. So I'm like, okay, I want to start doing this content that I used to do in the game because I really enjoyed it back in the day. And I want to get better gear. So raiding is the best way to do that. So I started talking to old people that I used to raid with or were friends with in the game over the years. They recommended me a guild. I'm trialing with them right now. It's a 2-week trial period. So I've passed the first week. Oh yeah. It's like a whole recruitment process.
Wow.
So I passed the first week. My DPS was like mid-tier. So, and without, great gear, I'll have you. So, they recognize that. So they're inviting me back this week. So if all things go well, I'll be invited to the guild and, things will progress.
That's
smoothly.
Amazing. I love that so much.
Yeah, but I actually got like 4 or 5 pieces of gear because no one else needed them. So that really worked out well. So I'm already seeing, huge payoffs in terms of my damage. And because I finished the raid on the 3rd hardest difficulty, which is heroic, we cleared the whole thing in 2 days. I got a new mount, which is in the, section where I always put them, and it's called the Uncorrupted Void Wing. And it's basically just a big violet, huge dragon. And it's violet is very distinct. It looks really cool. So I was really excited about that. That was like, honestly, that was sort of the main reason why I wanted to raid, because I wanted to get that mount, and that's the only way that you can get it. It's part of an achievement called Ahead of the Curve. And with each patch that comes out in the game, there's a new Ahead of the Curve achievement. And you complete the achievement by completing the raid on the heroic difficulty before the next raid comes out. So it's like a time gated, or it's like you have a certain amount of time to do this before it just goes away. You can't get it anymore. So I've like missed a lot of mounts because of that in the game, because I haven't been playing nonstop over the years. But it was cool to get this one because I liked how the mount looked a lot.
Nice.
But I've just been playing WoW. Again, just raiding, farming more mounts. And that's about it. That was the only one I got this week. But yeah, I'm addicted, guys.
Clearly. That's okay though. It's a healthy addiction.
I'm having fun.
It's not ruining your life. I mean, at least you don't have friend groups to hang out with anymore late in the evenings like we used to. We'd be like,
Yep.
Jacob, where you at, dude? You'd be like, oh, I'm eating a steak with my dad. For years, you were playing WoW.
It's a pretty good excuse, though, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty. I mean, it's a believable excuse. But how many steaks can you eat with your dad over a period of like 6 years? Every time we're hanging out. So, but yeah, it's a healthy addiction, Jacob, and it's a heartwarming story to know that you are succeeding and joining this guild, and you have your violet mount. So I'm excited for you.
Yes, thank you. But
Jacob,
I'm definitely excited for The Last of Us, and I know you're about to speak about it.
Certainly, yeah, but I wanted to share a funny story I told Preston recently about joining like guilds or clans. Back in the day on OG Halo 2 on Xbox Live, I wanted to join an established clan, and I came across this lobby of guys. We played a match, and I was on their team, and we won a match. Like, hey man, are you interested in joining our clan? I said, absolutely. And I think when they invited me, I was like level 32 or something in Team Slayer. And mind you, this is back when ranking was like you had to earn and keep your rank. Like if you lost too many rounds, your rank would decrease. So it was extremely competitive. And they said, hey man, what's your highest rank? Like in Halo 3, you could see what someone's highest rank was, regardless of whatever rank they currently were. But in Halo 2, you had no idea, so you could say anything. Like, hey man, what's your highest rank in Team Slayer? I was like, oh, it was like a 43 or something. They're like, okay, sick, dude. Like, roll with us into this next match, and we'll kick some ass, man. We're like, all right, cool. We go into a match, dude. I get annihilated, just completely destroyed. I think I had one kill, died like 16 times, like completely destroyed. And the whole time, these clan guys are just yelling at me, like, what are you doing? Like screaming, like, tell me to do these things, and I'm like blowing it. And at the end of the round, we're in the lobby, and the leader of this clan is like, hey, dude, I know why you lost your 43, dude. I know why you lost your 43. And they just like kick me out of the clan. That's the last thing I heard.
Toxic.
Didn't even tell me like, you suck, man. Like, you're not allowed to join our clan. He's just like, hey, dude, I know why you lost your 43, like at the top of his lungs. And they just kicked me out of the clan.
Yeah.
Never joined again.
And you're playing with a bunch of, 13-year-olds? Like,
yeah, at the time, probably.
Like everyone's I was high on hormones.
I was probably like 12 or 13 at the time, yeah. And jokes on them, dude. I started my own clan and just invited everyone I played with. I don't even think they realized what they were doing, but I had an entirely full clan that I was the leader of. I even assigned random people to be administrators just to feel cool. So it was like the leader, and I had all these administrators that probably had no idea they were administrators, but I had a clan of my own, so jokes on them, man. But so I can relate to trying to earn your way into like a guild or a clan and failing miserably. So I'm encouraged that you are succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I'm by no means am I like a leader or like even a leader of a clan. Like I don't.
You're the water boy.
I don't know if the water boy is the best answer.
You're an infantryman.
I would be a good officer. Like I'm good at like focusing on certain things and doing the really good at those things, but like overheading like all the operations, that's a little much for me. It's a little overwhelming.
Dude, you know what fascinates me about what you're talking about is that you almost have like a resume for World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like, look at my impressive resume. I have over 10 years of experience in like these perspective fields of this game, and I will make a valuable asset to your guild if you give me a chance. And like people go through trial periods for work all the time, but you're doing that in a fantasy video game.
Yeah, it kind of makes you think like, what if I applied this to like real life? You know,
exactly. Think of these 10 years, what else I could have done to be an officer in any other respective field.
Nope.
That's just another aspect that fascinates me about that game, dude. That there's still that small part of me that's like, just go for it. Just play the damn game and see what happens. But I always come up with some, mind you, valid excuse for not getting into it. But when I hear stuff like that,
I will say this: if you are, I imagine you probably want to have kids someday. If you ever are in a situation where you are a stay-at-home dad and you're taking care of the kid, it might be a good thing to pick up while you're, just letting them rest on your arm and, looking for something mindless to do. It's something to keep you occupied.
Yep.
When you're
killing
not
time as time slowly kills us.
Yeah.
It's a groovy
or you
song.
can just forget everything in life and just focus on WoW. That's another option.
It is an option. Would you say you came dangerously close to doing that yourself for a while?
It's not necessarily that. It's more so that I would just put off things that I probably shouldn't have, like you were speaking to earlier, like hanging out with friends or not scheduling to do things because I gotta make it to raid night because I need
whatever it
this piece
takes
of
to
gear.
defend Azeroth.
Yeah, like it's more so just doing WoW instead of other things that I probably should be doing. But it's never like a thing where I'm gonna call out from work because I don't want to go in because I need to play WoW. Like it's never been to that degree, thankfully. But yeah, just that kind of thing.
Well, Jacob, we recognize you as a mighty warrior rogue. You still playing as Sylv?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Now we recognize you're a mighty warrior, Jacob, and we appreciate your service in the defense of Azeroth.
And going back to what Preston was talking about with like not like feeling weird about playing elves and stuff like that, I was gonna mention that I have changed the race of my character many times. Like, and it's $25 each time you change it. I'll have you. And I probably changed it 7-8 times. So you do the math. But I always end up back a human male on my rogue, and I don't know why. Like I think that's just what I'm like. It's what I'm most comfortable looking at.
That's what you identify with,
I guess. Yeah. So like I've been a gnome, I've been a dwarf, I've been a night elf, I've been a void elf, which is basically a copy of the blood elf model, but it's on the Alliance and it has like a violet hue to it. That's what I was, but my last form. And then I was also a panda. So I've changed all these times,
Nice.
and like in between those, like I'll go back to human. So I'll like go void elf, then back to human. Then I'll go like, oh, I want to be a panda now. But then I'll get sick of that and I'll go back to human. So it's kind of like what Preston was saying.
Collectively, over time, it's a lot of money. But if you think about it, if you're changing your race once a year or once every 6 months, it's really not that much money.
Yeah,
so
but it does add
I understand
up,
that.
like everything else. But also, like I've always wanted to, like I like the horde races more in the game. I think they're more unique. But I've never play horde on my character because all my friends are on Alliance. So I've sort of like pigeonholed myself into playing these races that I don't like as much, and I just think human is the best out of the bunch. So, but I do like the Alliance. Like I like what they stand for, and I like that side more than what the horde do. But I think the horde have cooler player models.
Not to like go down a huge rabbit hole here, but
I think we've already gone down the rabbit hole.
Okay, I mean, is the lore in World of Warcraft, is it like on both sides they both have like good motivations to a point where it's almost like I can kind of like see why the horde is doing what they're doing?
Yeah, like for example, this whole last expansion was a war between the factions, and you could look at it in a sense where they both won, but in reality, I think the Alliance won if you had to pick a winner. But the Horde War Chief was also a villain.
Would say.
Well, I mean, we won, so it was because of me too. Like
whatever, man.
I won the war. I'm the hero.
Says the guy who can't decide what race he wants to be. What a joke.
I mean, I'm still Alliance. I can be an Alliance panda, I can be an Alliance elf, and I can be an Alliance human. I'm still the Alliance, Garrett, and you can't take that away from me.
Well, I'm proud of you for sticking to your guns, at least on the side of the war you're fighting on, Jacob.
Yes, so, I picked the winning side.
That's great, Jake. I'm glad to hear it. The only game I played this week was The Last of Us Part 2, which, just to set it up properly, I am covering the game for COD Connected. Sony did provide the codes for review and coverage, so I'm very excited about the things I'm writing and producing videos for this game that are still under embargo until launch day and beyond. So I can't really talk about specifics, and I will talk, and everything I'm about to share about my thoughts on Last of Us, because I have played it and I have finished it, and I'm on my second playthrough right now, is all entirely spoiler-free. But if you don't want even the slightest hint of anything going on in this game, I would just suggest going to the time codes in either the description on all of our streaming platforms or the comments or description of the YouTube version and just skip ahead. But everything I'm about to share is entirely spoiler-free, and I'm going to open it up with Kyle's question, and then we'll get into it. But Bohongeles! Kyle writes in and says, "Why, hello, fellas. How we doing? Skating fast and eating ass?" I can say that. That one's relatively PG-13. "I sure hope so. With Last of Us Part 2 embargo recently dropping, reviews have come out. I'm glad Garrett was able to overall enjoy the game. But what do you guys think about the limitations Sony has placed on what reviewers are allowed to share since the game isn't technically out? With the leaks and trepidation amongst fans and how they may or may not handle the story, do you think Sony is trying to keep pre-orders locked by preventing the more divisive elements of the game under wraps, or is it just a simple way to avoid reviewers from spoiling elements that might turn people away? Do you think reviewers should have the right to review every element of the game once embargo drops to provide a proper one, or is Sony in the right preventing people from disclosing information that might spoil the game? I always thought that it should be up to the reviewer, not the company, and it kind of, sorry, my screen just died. And it kind of saddens me that I can't hear about whole parts of a game because it seems Sony is trying to save face. Garrett, have you had other companies impose rules like this on your reviews? Love you boys, and I would slide any one of your, I'm going to skip that one. Are you allowed to read that, Garrett? I didn't say any bad words. It's a little too suggestive. I apologize. So I have to address a couple things here. In terms of these embargo restrictions, let me say this first. I absolutely adore 99.9% of this game. Like, absolutely adore it. In terms of writing, character development, presentation, and most elements of gameplay, I'll say it is all a remarkable achievement. It is incredibly impactful. It has certainly left a lasting impression on me in spite of playing through it a second time already. I've thought a lot about it since playing through it. And I'm not just talking about the way it ends. I'm talking about the entire journey from beginning to end. So in terms of spoilers, even if you have seen every single spoiler that has been released online, I can promise you that you have not seen half of what this game has to offer. It's easy to look at the spoilers on one hand out of context, even piecing together what the spoilers may mean and what may lead to certain moments in this game, even with all of that going on in your mind or what forums might say. I can promise you there is so much more to this game than people can even possibly begin to imagine. It is amazing. So the reason, and it's very clear, I mean, I'm not going to like throw Sony under the bus or anything, but the embargo sheet details with preserving parts of the story really is for the sake of fans enjoying like the surprises in the game. It is not to hide aspects of the game that they believe people may not like in order to save face and like preserve pre-orders. It really is. There are so many amazing surprises in this game that because I went into the game having a relative idea of certain spoilers. I didn't seek out the spoilers, but just browsing Twitter when they first started dropping, there were a couple that I encountered that I was like, crap, I wish I hadn't seen that. But even going into the game with those spoilers in mind, the story was not at all ruined for me because there's just so much to it. It is a very long game. It is rough. I mean, I think if you blaze through it, you'll get through it in 25 hours, but I took my time because as they say in these like preview videos, the more you explore, the more you're going to get out of it in terms of story. But not only in terms of story, gameplay moments too are incredible. And some of these surprises that you'll find only by exploring.
So it pays off gameplay wise too.
It does, yeah. I mean, I'm going to go in more in depth on the gameplay because I said on Discord that I do agree with what SkillUp says about gameplay, but that I don't agree to the point where I think it's boring like all the way through. There are certain aspects where I'm like, okay, this is kind of a drag, but the good moments in gameplay outweigh the boring ones to me. But I'll get there. So yeah, that's just rest easy in knowing that the embargo restrictions is not an attempt, and I'm not just doing this because I'm like, oh, Sony paid us, or like I'm trying to defend Sony. Like if it was to preserve like a horrible story, like I would just be honest about that. But they're doing it for the sake of the fans, and even though they realize that things have leaked, there's so much more to this game that I promise you will. I assume you'll love. I mean, maybe you'll hate it. I don't know, but I think the writing and character development, and even the plot is so strong that even knowing spoilers, you're going to get so much out of it. And I implore you to play it for yourself if you're on edge, because it is so worth experiencing.
I do want to make one comment about the whole saving face thing. Even if people don't like the story and don't like these moments that are heavily restricted in talking about, the reviewer can still say they didn't like this. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't think that these restrictions are like keeping people from talking about, whatever, disagreements or whatever things about the story they don't like. They just that Sony doesn't want them coming out and saying like, I don't like that this character did this because of this reasons, because obviously that's just like something, like you said, Sony wants to keep under wraps because they don't want, you know, people looking forward to this game to be spoiled. But people like, I believe Skill Up, you know, didn't like parts of the story, and there was nothing in the embargo that kept him from saying those things, you know?
Yeah. And that's another aspect I disagree with Skill Up on. And I want everyone to keep in mind, I really like his content a lot. And I actually really enjoyed his review in some aspects.
And I think the reason we're bringing up Skill Up is because I follow him on Twitter. He even acknowledges that he's pretty much the only reviewer that has been like straight up negative about this game, which is why I think
Polygon was pretty negative too. And I will say though, and not a knock against the reviewer because everyone's entitled to their opinion, but I thought a lot of what she shared was a pretty bad take in terms of the storytelling. And I think she must have just been in a bad mood or something when she wrote her review, because she says repeatedly that there's no joy whatsoever, no humor whatsoever in this game, which is a blatant lie, because there are many laugh out loud moments. There are many charming moments. There are many heartwarming moments sprinkled throughout this, granted, very harrowing, dark story. I mean, when I finished the game, I was like, this is not a spoiler, I promise. I mean, this is to be expected in the world they've created. But I'm like, that's the saddest story I think I've ever heard in my life. But there is plenty of joy to be had in gameplay and in storytelling and in characters throughout this game. And what I love about the characters is that they are so realized and so well written that they truly do feel like real people. And the interactions in particular that Ellie has with some of them, and even the other characters I don't want to mention, feel so real that their conversations and their interactions together throughout this adventure is amazing. Like it's one of the most real cast of characters I've ever experienced, and there's just so much to get out of it. And that's why I implore you, when you're playing, explore. Not only in terms of just character development and amazing things you'll witness, but there are many gameplay experiences you'll get to have, and there are also like upgrades for weapons and like holsters and like attachments that I haven't tested this to find out, that I assume the game would give you later on anyway, but you get them much earlier in the game if you go out seeking for them. So take your time too, because I mean, if whether I was doing an extra story moment or whether I was finding like a gameplay sequence that was off the beaten path, there are also moments, dude, where the game is so beautiful that you just have to like stop and appreciate it. I mean, some of these characters and some of the environments look so photorealistic. It's shocking that Naughty Dog achieved this on a PlayStation 4. So overall, huge thumbs up for me. I don't get where Skill Up was coming from, the plot holes, unless he was confused, because yes, they do tell this story out of order in a very weird way, but once you piece everything together at the end, it makes total sense. At least to me it did, and nothing felt like it was left out. I'm interested to hear like a spoiler review from him and a few others to see if something I may just be overlooking. But as far as I'm aware, there aren't any plot holes that are just glaring throughout the story. So, so I thoroughly enjoyed the adventure, and I can't wait to talk about it, of course, with you guys and then our community and just everyone else is going to talk about the spoiler review, because there's just so much to unpack. And for gameplay, for story, for characters, it is a gigantic, huge game that is difficult to talk about in depth with the embargo restrictions. But again, that is I promise you, it is for everyone's enjoyment. You will go into it, especially if you haven't had anything spoiled, it's going to be amazing for you. But even if you've seen some of the spoilers, I promise you will get so much more out of this game than you're probably expecting. So rest easy in knowing that in spite of the embargo restrictions, in spite of spoilers that have leaked, there's a ton in this game left to experience, and it is so worth playing. If you even remotely like the first one, you will love this one. I'm confident. So, in terms of gameplay, as you guys know, before going into the game, one of my concerns was, okay, it looks amazing. It's beautifully developed, wonderfully rendered, amazing animations, but the loop seems to be more of the same, not entirely, because you can go prone, you can jump, you can hide in tall grass, you can rope swing, all that good stuff. Yeah, there's the boat. So there's a bunch of new gameplay mechanics they've added. But all of that collectively, there are moments throughout the game where those specific mechanics come into play, where they're just tremendous and amazing. But I would say, with it being such a long game, and again, it's hard to like really give my perspective without spoiling the game, so I got to be careful. But that loop of coming to an area, either stealth killing or killing all the enemies, scavenging, moving on, and doing that over and over and over and over again for like 30 hours sometimes becomes a drag, especially when you're enjoying a character moment and then you come to another area where you have to kill a bunch of guys and then scavenge for 4 hours. Kind of gets, to me, felt like a drag after a while. But what's beautiful is that there are certain, like I said, if you're exploring and like deeply the entire game, extra little encounters off the beaten path, weapon upgrades you'll find, and even set piece moments break up that monotony. So there are moments, if you're looking for them, that really break up that loop that to me got old after a while. And that's not to say that there aren't moments of fun even in that repetitive loop, because there are some like stealth moments and action moments that were insane, that were totally unscripted, that were my doing, that made it all the more interesting. So I think the game does encourage you to be creative, because you have all these, as Ellie, you have these traps. You, of course, have your bow, your rifle, your shotgun, handguns. So there are many ways to approach these stealth sequences or combat scenarios. And I think the more you mix it up, if you make an effort to mix it up, it'll probably be more interesting. But I like to play stealthily. So I only ever shot my gun when I had to, which is pretty rare. And so I'm sneaking around stabbing guys the entire game. So you can probably understand why that loop became more and more monotonous to me, is because I intentionally wanted to use my weapons as little as possible. So that brings me to my next suggestion, is that I would say going into the game, be brave enough to play on the hardest difficulty, which I think is just hard, but then you unlock Survivor after you beat the game. Maybe Survivor's available at the beginning, I can't remember. But play in the hardest difficulty, because this game is written and presented in a way that's so grounded that if you play on a harder difficulty, it's just going to be that much more immersive for you. Because I played on moderate just thinking that, okay, this is the standard difficulty that most people will probably start on. Dude, you'd think the crafting materials and the things you scavenge, you'd think that you're not even in the apocalypse. There are so many. It is hilarious where you go into an area and it's like a supermarket of goods you need to craft your stuff. And I'm playing to the first couple of hours, I'm like, okay, this is nice. So I don't have to worry about running out of stuff for a while. But dude, I had so many supplies for so long, and I was playing so stealthily that I hardly ever took damage. So I'm never using health kits. I'm never having to use my explosives or any of my ammo. So I'm just like full the entire time. So I'm coming across loads of stuff to scavenge, and I don't even need it. Like I can't even pick it up because I'm full. So that was kind of a bummer to me, is because I realized halfway through the game, I want to feel the intensity and stress of needing to find supplies and feeling like I'm always on the edge of my seat. And part of that was that there's just a million things to scavenge on moderate. So I would suggest, if you want a more immersive, grounded experience, play on a harder difficulty. And what's amazing is that if you want to feel like you're more grounded in the world, you can play like with items in the world are set to hard, and scavenging and crafting are set to hard. But you can make the enemies as easy as you want. But I'd also suggest making the enemies harder. That's one of my biggest gripes with the gameplay, is that the enemy AI can be so stupid sometimes that I was like blown away that this was like a 2020 game. And it's not to say they're always bad, but I cheesed these encounters, again, on moderate difficulty so many times that I was like upset about it. I was like, I can't believe that it's this easy. Like I'm talking, I'd go to like a corner of a room and just bow guys, and they drop and die, and someone would come in and be like, oh, James is dead. And they'd start looking around, bow that guy. And then someone else come and be like, oh, Jimmy's dead. And then I'd bow that guy, just like over and over again. I'm like, this is awful. But that's not to say there weren't some amazing moments in spite of that, in certain areas where like the areas are laid out in a way where you can't actually do that. So even on moderate difficulty, there's some really, really cool moments in standard combat and stealth scenarios. But on hard, on hard or Survivor, it's much better, because when they see you, they instantly see you. And when they shoot you, you're instantly dead. So it makes it way more horrifying, way more intense. And it makes gunfights feel all the more intense too. Because if you're on moderate, dude, you can take like 3 shots to the face and you just blow someone's head off and you're fine. But on obviously harder Survivor, you can only take 1 or 2 and you're dead. So it makes this world come to life even more when you are always scavenging for that last little piece you need to upgrade your weapon, or last little bottle of alcohol you need to craft a new health kit, or like a suppressor. It makes it way more fun to explore, because you're always like needing to find stuff, and then combat is all the more intense. So if you want a more grounded, immersive experience, play on hard. I'm playing on Survivor right now. It is 10 times better, and I'm enjoying the stealth and combat all the more because I know that it's far more risky. Other things I love, weapon crafting is awesome. Those are my favorite things to find, with the pills to upgrade my perks, pieces to upgrade my weapons, and I love that you can play through the game and it's literally impossible, even if you find everything, to upgrade all of your weapons completely and your skill trees all the way. So you're really picking and choosing how you want to play throughout the game, and that's what makes it especially interesting. I catered most of my stuff towards stealth. So another tricky thing is that, like I said, with an abundance of crafting materials and easy combat, even with my perks being upgraded, it didn't really change the experience too much. So again, if you're playing on hard, I think those perks and weapon upgrades are going to feel even heavier and more impactful because they're actually making a huge difference. So do that. The weapon crafting is amazing. Cool little detail is that when Ellie, for example, takes out her handgun, she removes the clip, pulls the slide back, and a round pops out. So when you're upgrading, you do your upgrades and you leave the table, there's one less round in your clip when you take your gun off the table. And you like recover the round, but it's like in your arsenal, not in the actual clips. You can actually reload and put the round back in the gun. So there's amazing little details like that throughout the world in terms of gameplay and presentation that Naughty Dog literally thought of everything. You can even put it to the test. I think that's what took me so long to get through the game, was that I was testing every animation, every area, every bit of audio, things I could crawl under and move and manipulate, and how Ellie would react to them. Is fascinating, all the detail they put into the game. So the polish is through the roof. I only encountered like one or two tiny little bugs that were not at all game breaking. I shot one Seraphite and they fell through the floor, but it wasn't like a weird corner we were in. But overall, it's awesome. I loved it. I did feel like the gameplay got monotonous in some areas, but if you're playing on a harder difficulty, you're bound to have a much better time. Melee stuff works well. Stealth works well. Combat is intense. I know I've seen some people complaining about how the weapons feel. I think it's intentionally designed to feel like weapons are heavy and kind of clunky because I think they just want it to feel more intense. Because as we know, you can play Uncharted and it feels silky smooth, but they intentionally kind of make them heavier in this game. But once you get the feel for the game, it becomes totally second nature, and you can be popping heads left and right if you want to, no problem. But I feel like I'm kind of rambling at this point. There are many like particular things I could talk about, but if you guys have any questions that you may already know the answers to, but for the sake of the community that you want to ask that I can probably answer, that I'm overlooking, I can answer those.
I mean, I think if anything, you've made me a little more excited. Not that I wasn't before, but generally I typically, I side with you and Preston both in terms of like, these kind of games where, I don't necessarily play them, or I don't enjoy it as much to play it stealthily, but I know that aspect is in this game, and I know that, the way that you played, it sounded intriguing by just the way that you described it, and I kind of want to play that way now because of how you just described the game and how you experienced it. I think I will try the hard mode because that does sound, it almost seems like it fits the game better because it's not necessarily like I think playing it on an easier difficulty would make it more like Uncharted in a way, because in that game you're kind of just blowing through enemies. It's more about, the adventure, the set piece moments and what Nathan Drake is doing, right? But yeah, I think how you said what you said about hard is really intriguing to me. But I don't necessarily have any questions to you pretty much nailed everything. I was gonna ask about the like optional like things you can discover out in the world more. So like, are you literally discovering like if you go down a path, like do you find like a weapon upgrade, or is it more like you find scrap to use to build weapon upgrades? A bit of like
both. Okay. What's cool is that there are some areas you can explore that are just open, that you're like, oh, I stumbled across this this house that I like. For example,
is it like Tomb Raider spaces? Like the new
Sometimes,
Tomb
yeah.
Raider?
Sometimes it is kind of like that.
Okay.
For example, you'll be in like this town, and there will be a locked door, and you'll be like, "Oh, I wonder how I get in there." And you'll like look around and like figure out an environmental puzzle that kind of like you get the idea, like, "Oh, I bet I could get in this way." And it's very satisfying to kind of intuitively figure that out without the game telling you what to do. And you get inside, and in turn, you'll find like pills to upgrade your perks, crafting materials. Sometimes you'll need, especially on hard, like, holy crap, I needed this bottle of alcohol, or I needed these scissors to upgrade my melee weapon, which is all the more satisfying when you break into these areas. And I've heard some people criticize the amount of safes in the game, and there are a fair amount, but it's pretty cool because most of them, you find out the codes through notes you pick up in the game, which, side note, pick up all the notes you find, read them, because it gives far more context to not only the world before, but the world that's been present, and even like notes that were potentially written days before you find them, about the warring factions, the environment they're in, and just stories from these people's lives that just bring you further into that world, that are sometimes they're sad, sometimes they're terrifying, sometimes they're heartwarming. So it just gives you far more perspective on, like, it brings the world to life more. But what's cool is that some of them will be like, hey, so-and-so and I had to dip out of here at the last minute. If you need some crafting supplies, or like some gear, we left it behind in our safe. And sometimes it'll just say the code, but other times it'll be like, the code is so-and-so's birthday, or the code is blah, blah, blah's employee of the month. And you'll be like, okay. So you like start looking around the area you're in, and it's amazing because sometimes it'll be a small little thing on like the corner of a room or a wall that you're like, that's got to be the code, and you punch it in and open it. It's so satisfying when you get those materials. So that's why it's worth exploring, is because there's a lot of stuff to find like that, especially if you're on hard. It's worth it.
Yeah, and I think that stuck out to me when you were talking, because that's the type of gamer I am. Like, I spend way too much time exploring things that don't need to be explored. Like, when I jump into like Final Fantasy, for example, like the remake, right? I spent so much time just walking around every nook and cranny. That's why it took me so long to get through the game. Like, what's that first town you're in? I forgot the name of it.
Sector
You guys
7.
remember? Yeah, Sector 7. Like it took me like hours and hours to get through that part of the game, because I was just going everywhere, and I was just walking up to people and just hearing what they were gonna say.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to exist in the world, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. That's what it really is. I have a fear of missing out on things, and I'm afraid if I move too far into the game, I'm gonna miss something that could have been cool.
That's great. You feel that way, Jacob. You're gonna get a lot more out of Last of Us Part 2 for doing that.
Awesome.
So much more. And that's what's amazing, dude. I thought I was thorough the first time, even on Survivor, my second playthrough. I'm discovering things that I had overlooked the first time. And even not only just areas that I hadn't explored, but also story moments that I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I missed this the first time. So it is so worth exploring.
Hey,
And,
I'll be right back. I yawned and my nose started bleeding for some reason.
Oh, yikes.
Oh no.
You have the Cordyceps virus.
He's infected. He's infected.
Man, I won't spoil some of the newer infected, because they say like, oh, there are new infected in the game.
Mm-hmm.
All of them are pretty cool, especially in scenarios where they combine infected in areas where it's all the more difficult to get through them. Whether you're just trying to sneak past them or kill them all, is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, those stalkers they talk about in the preview video that like hunt you,
Mm-hmm.
freaking terrifying when you first encounter them.
Yeah.
But again, if you're playing on moderate, you can cheese the hell out of these areas, and it like really annoyed me after a while. I'm like, I want to be scared, but you're so stupid that it's impossible to be scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I beg you guys, I promise when I say hard, it doesn't mean it's gonna be like brutal to get through. It just makes it a far more immersive experience. So play on hard if you're willing.
Okay.
Couple more spoiler-free things I can talk about that are worth mentioning. I mentioned the environmental puzzles. Those are a lot of fun, especially when you figure them out, and it's always rewarding to do them. Man, just talking about this game, like I'm so excited to like sit down and play it again. Like it's that good.
I can tell you enjoyed it just by how you're talking about it. You know,
again, like everyone's saying, everyone has their opinion. I'm certain not everyone will feel the same way I do. But like I said, if I were to score the game without talking about spoilers, I'd give it a 9 out of 10, just because the gameplay can be a bit monotonous, but you can alleviate that by playing on a harder difficulty. That's the last time I'll say that. I know I've said that a million times, but play on hard.
Yeah. I think that's
Anything
why
else?
this game doesn't necessarily excite me as much as other games do, is because I know the actual game itself isn't the most fun thing in the world, but I still enjoy my time with it, and I enjoy the payoff because of other aspects of the game.
Yeah, let me. I'm glad you said that, Jacob. I almost forgot. All the people that are saying this game isn't meant to be fun, it's meant to make you feel things. That is total BS. Is it meant to make you feel things? Absolutely. Does it have heavy themes? Yes, it does. But the game is fun to play. I promise.
I don't think you can say that about any game. Every game is supposed to make you feel something.
Yeah, but I think it's a total unfair thing to say that this game isn't meant to be fun because, like Reggie Fils-Aimé says, if it's not fun, why bother? I mean, that is a universal truth for video games. This game is fun to play, I promise. If you even slightly like the gameplay in the first one, you will like the gameplay in this one because it is improved. In spite of the relatively dumb AI from time to time, it is a lot of fun to play. Upgrading your weapons is fun. The story does have fun moments. Don't go into this thinking it's going to be entirely dark and dreary because there's a lot of fun to be had. I promise.
Yeah.
So,
and going back to what you said about Reggie, like fun is different for different people.
Yeah.
And like going back to what you just said, people are going to feel differently about the game from what you're thinking. Like it's just because of that. Like people like different things.
Mm-hmm. The last thing I'll say is, again, this is not a spoiler. There were only 2 story moments that kind of fell flat for me and did not ruin the game, did not ruin the story. But when they occurred, I was like, that is not hitting me the way it probably should. And I'm very interested to talk about spoilers with the community, with you guys, and to hear what other people have to say. And again, like in the grand scheme of the whole story, these moments are not that big, but they are important moments to particular characters, and when they play out, I'm like really not feeling what I think they're going for here. So that was the only story moments that were a little off to me. But like I said, 99% of the game I love. From me, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. I considered it an 8.5, but now that I've played a good bit on Survivor, on New Game Plus as well, it has made it a much more engaging gameplay experience. So 9 out of 10 for me if I was going to score it.
That's really good.
Yeah, but last thing I'll say again, this is all for coverage for COD Connected. This is not about me at all. So I have 3 pieces I'm working on that I'm very excited for that are coming out on launch day, the day after, and probably the 3rd day after, just based on the amount of time people have played. All will be spoiler tagged, 2 of which have to do with gameplay and story to an extent, and then 1 is entirely focused on story, characters, and themes that I'm just excited to pour my heart out about this game. Some of it's critical as well, but it's mostly just talking about it. So all that is coming to COD Connected. I'll be sure to share them on the Discord. But I think
please do. I think a lot of people would enjoy hearing more of your thoughts on the game. So
yeah, and this
put it under the announcement tab.
Yeah, it will be completely unleashed too, like full of spoilers, and again, it'll be spoiler tagged. So once you've played the game for a bit or after you've finished it, it'll be a good place to go and we can talk about it. So I'm excited. But I think that is a healthy place to end the spoiler-free Last of Us discussion, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about.
Yeah, Preston, you got anything?
And
are you okay?
Yeah, how's your nose?
Yes, I'm fine. I guess I don't know. I think it's sometimes when it's dry and stuff, if I yawn or do anything at all, just the floodgate is unleashed.
My brother's just like that. He gets really dry nasals or whatever, and he starts bleeding.
I guess the only thing that I was going to say is that despite, the abundance of leaks I've seen and know and stuff, and, I've talked to Garrett about the spoilers that I know and stuff. Like he said in the beginning, I still am so unaware of just the copious amount of things that this game is doing with the story and stuff. And that was kind of like my main point when we originally talked about all these spoilers, is just about just it being a video game and not knowing the context of any of those things, and just reading the amount of reviews and talking to Garrett, because even like you said, like me and Garrett are pretty much on the same wavelength in terms of like stories that we enjoy and video games that we enjoy, and just knowing that all these risky decisions, and I think that's not spoilery thing to say. Like I've seen a few reviews say that this is definitely like the most ballsy Naughty Dog game that there's, you know, ever been. And to somewhat understand why, based on the spoilers I know, and know that for the most part, and in this case, Garrett, you know, agrees with it. Knowing that that stuff pays off just makes me, you know, even more excited than I, you know, previously was to play this game.
Having that said, Garrett, one last question: do you think this game has any business existing after the first one? Like, do you think what happened in this game warrants it being, like, the story being told at all?
I have thought about that. At the end, the game finishes. I do think how effective the story is, the characters they've established, and the plot they came up with. I was thinking the whole game, I'm like, how did they come up with this? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a positive way. I'm like, this is... Like, it's one thing to continue the plot of the game, but to have characters so well realized within this plot blew my mind the entire game. I could not fathom the quality of writing and character development. It was absolutely astounding. But at the end, I was like, man, I tried to pretend like if this game didn't exist, like it's hard to like erase it from your memory. But the more I thought about it, I was like, did Last of Us need a sequel? I'd say many people would argue no. But when you finish it, you'll be glad that this exists, because it is a tremendous continuation. Like Preston said, it is a very bold, surprising continuation in many ways. But when you complete it, I would say it is absolutely worth playing through. And I appreciate its existence. And if anything, beyond just the characters and their journey and their story, it was very reflective too. Like, the themes are so heavy that you can't help but think about your own life throughout the entire game. And when it draws you in that way, it's all the more effective. And that's why playing through it, man, I didn't ever cry in the game, but I definitely had a heavy heart in some moments. And on one hand, that's because of the themes, but also because I said the characters are so well written and realize that you can really sympathize and at times empathize with them. So it is a remarkable achievement overall. So I would say it is. I'm very glad the sequel exists. Definitely.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah, like talking about it like this just makes me want to go play it right now. Like, I've played it for 35, 37 hours, and I'm still just dying to play it some more. So I look forward to talking about the game in depth with the community and you guys. And I guess next episode, you guys will have played a healthy amount, if not all of it. It'd be a miracle if you beat it in a weekend, if you're like really taking your time and exploring. But if you do, we will, of course, have a spoiler review discussion later on. So I'm excited for that.
For sure.
But yeah, boys, you guys want to jump into the news?
Let's
It's about time.
do it.
Gentlemen, what a week it was. Not just with the Last of Us reviews, but the PlayStation 5 reveal and games. Before we jump into it, we have a couple of questions that are going to set the lay of the land for us as we navigate all these game announcements, and of course share our thoughts on the console and games themselves. The first one comes from the Amazing Dragon. It says, well, boyos, Sony finally announced the PS5 in all its glory. #NotFanboys. There were so many sweet looking games. Seeing more of Godfall, which I'm more on board for, Horizon Forbidden West, Demon's Souls. Side note, Jacob and I have been laughing hysterically about the title Demon's Souls. It is the most obnoxious word
terrible
to say correctly. And I know people just say Demon's Souls. Like, yeah, but when you pronounce it correctly, it's Demon's Souls. It reminds me of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like, you got to pay the troll toll to get in that boy's hole. When he's saying boy's soul, but it sounds like he's saying boy's hole. It's the exact same thing. Anyway, Amazing Dragon goes on to say, Hitman 3, Ghostwire Tokyo, a 3D adventure game, Sackboy, a big adventure, and an interesting looking game called Returnal, not to mention the large number of other games shown. My question for you, what are your top 3 games that were announced that you were most hype for? Question to you guys real quick. Do you want to go through the full list and then name our top 3, or you just want to name them right now?
Let's go through them.
Okay, because I could easily name mine.
I mean, we don't need to spend like too much time on them unless we want to. Like, I imagine we won't spend a lot of time talking about some of these, but you know, there's some that we'll be more excited about than others, and we'll spend more time on them. But yeah,
I think
let's go through them first.
the shorter conversation will be the console itself. So I'll read these next two, and we'll talk about the console, and we'll go into the games.
Okay.
Paulo Lizardo says, if you are planning to get the PS5, how do you plan on putting it on your setup? Vertical or horizontal? Will the size bother you? And do you think the light on the PS5 can be changed? Bobby C writes in and says, how much do y'all think the pricing is going to be?
All good questions.
Yeah. So let's talk about the design first. What was your initial reaction? How's it settled into you? How do you feel about the look of the console?
I'll go first, I guess. Initially, I thought it looked incredibly stupid. Because I think it looks really cool standing up vertically. I think it just I like how it just sort of like opens up as it gets to the top. But once they showed it, or once I saw a screenshot of it laying on its side, I was like, oh my god, that just looks tacky as all, like it just looks really weird. But then I started thinking, why do I even care about this? Like, it's just a box that I'm going to put under my TV that I'm just going to never look at, and just, because that's what you do. Like, you never look at this thing. And, like, I don't even care that it's white. Like, it's like off color, like the controller, it's like white and black. And it has the blue lights like, the PS4 did. But overall, I think it looks, and it's grown on me a little bit as I've thought about it more too. But I think it looks good. And it's definitely out there in terms of like a console design. Like, I guess Sony's sort of always kind of just they've had like tacky designs, like they've had sharp edges, and they've just sort of, they never make their boxes necessarily boring, I would say. Like, there's always something, just different about them. Like, if you look at Xboxes, they're a little more standard, they're a little more boxy, and bulky is another good word for Xboxes. But yeah, I think the console looks great, looks fine. And it's just going to be under my TV. It's just a machine that's going to run games really nicely on my TV. And yeah, I think it looks good, I guess.
I think the memes improve it significantly.
Yes. I think the Seto Kaiba meme is the best one.
So funny. So funny. Preston, how do you feel about it?
And I like that there's a digital edition. Sorry. That's the one I'm going to get, actually.
Likewise.
Oh, wow. I'm definitely not doing that.
I know, we knew that. We said that last collection.
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the disc one. It's cool there's an option, though. I think it looks fine. It's if I told Garrett this, if they came up to me and were like, hey man, like, what do you think? Like, you think we should stick with this? I'd probably be like, yeah. Let's try it. Let's try it one more time and see what we can get. But I appreciate that it's weird looking. I'd rather them like do something, out of the ordinary like this than it just be like another like PS4 looking thing, but bigger or whatever. But
it does. Yeah, it looks like a futuristic fun piece of tech. Like, at the very least, like, it looks different enough to be like, this is something different. This is something, mystique, exciting.
For sure. Yeah, it looks cool. I've been on board with the controller since it was announced. I think that thing looks really freaking cool. So I'm way more hyped for the controller than the console itself. But like you said, it's just like, it's whatever. I'm not going to be staring at it or whatever. So I'm pretty indifferent. I mean, I will have to keep mine horizontal to fit in my my entertainment center. So I'm gonna be rocking it that way.
I might be able to keep mine vertical. I have like a weird stand where I have like a top shelf where my consoles are right now. Then I have a more open like bottom, like here's the top portion, then there's an open bottom portion underneath that has like a bunch of DVDs and whatnot, and there's plenty of space down there. I might just leave my PS4 up on the top shelf and then just put the new one down below.
I've been thinking about just getting completely rid of my entertainment center and getting like a rack unit and just stowing all of my stuff in like my closet. Just so I have no equipment in my room whatsoever.
It's just like the TV.
Just my TV there.
That'd be pretty cool.
So thinking about. I've been thinking about doing that for a while actually, and that makes the this even less of a worry for me if I end up doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, where would you keep your consoles? Like in a closet?
Yeah, it'd be in like a.
It could get
like
hot
a
in there.
rack.
That's something to think about.
No, I'd have it vented. I'd have the rack would have fans and stuff in it, and my closet already has like an air return in there. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm not worried about that.
I dig that idea. It's pretty cool.
I mean, you might as well. You know how to do it. That's your thing.
It's just. I mean, it's not like anything's just plugging in. I'd probably just put like an HDMI switch in there, just so I'd only have one cable.
You could argue it's unnecessary.
Oh yeah, dude,
really unnecessary.
I'm all about unnecessary stuff for sure. That's like my entire setup is just unnecessary stuff that I just do for the sake of it.
Yeah.
So this would just be.
You could also argue that it's passion though, like you love.
I mean,
that's
what I do for my.
I
mean, that's my job. I enjoy doing it. Stuff.
But you're
like
like
that,
finding reasons to do something related to something without actually doing the thing that it is. Like instead of playing games, you want to make your setup look better to play games.
For sure. Yes, exactly. Yep.
What about you, Get? What do you think?
I also think it looks completely ridiculous, but I mean, it's so ridiculous that I appreciate it. I'm like, that looks so dumb that I love it. That is not my hashtag, not fanboy coming out of me, but I really do think I'm like, if you're going to do anything bold and new, like at least they went for it, man. Like I like how sleek and simplistic the Series X looks. And in general, I have more of a minimalist personality in terms of just aesthetics. And I would be remiss to deny I was hoping for something a little more sleek and reserved with the PlayStation 5, but it's wild, it's intense, and I'm fine with it because it's just so dumb. But I will also be doing the digital version because I think I've been playing games digitally for the last 3 years almost exclusively. There have been some exceptions here and there, but for the most part, I've not put a disc into my PlayStation in the last 3 years. So I'm used to playing games digitally. I mean, if I lived with like a roommate or something and we were like trading games from time to time, which is rare because I feel like we all buy our own games these days anyway, I would do that. But I haven't put games in like cases on my shelf in 3 years. So I like how I think it looks beautiful, a little more beautiful when it's more slender without the disc drive. But I guess it's kind of convenient if you have like a Blu-ray, you want to watch a Blu-ray on your PlayStation, it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about that too.
But even today, like I don't even have my own Blu-rays. I haven't watched like a disc version of a movie in a long time. So I'll go digital. But I think it's pretty cool that they're doing 2 versions at launch as well. But speaking of these versions, I assume those 2 versions will vary in price a bit. Any predictions based on the rumors we've heard, what you think it may be? Like standard?
I think it's 600.
I think it's going to be 600.
Cool. I know, like, I think it was Shuhei, I think we had talked about this, said like, oh, if you want to know the price, it's nostalgic of the PS3 or something. So,
yeah.
Did he say that?
Yeah, in a tweet.
So, I wonder if like the digital version would be as much as $50 less. Like,
yeah,
I was
thinking, I mean, a disc drive can't be that much money in the way that they manufacture them and stuff. So I'm thinking like $50 to $100, 100 tops.
100 would be pretty sick.
Yeah, 100 would be insane.
I'm thinking like $50, like $550.
Yeah, I could see it being like 25 less.
Of course, I hope couldn't be any wronger. I would freaking love for this thing to be 500 and then the digital be 450. That would.
So what would you do at that point? Would you still
awesome.
buy the disc drive version?
Yeah, I'm buying the disc version regardless. Okay. I play all my games physical to almost stupid extent. Like I bought FF7 Remake digital and wanted the steelbook, so I bought the physical too. So was that smart? No. But I'm not that smart when it comes to stuff like that. So I should have just bought it originally. I should have just bought the disc or the physical version originally. But with all the COVID stuff going on, it made it a little more complicated.
Yeah.
So
well, at least you somewhat justified getting the physical by getting the steelbook. You said.
Yeah. And
at
also
least you're getting something that you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, and also I take into account the UHD player and stuff, and just I mean, even if I like decide to go all digital, I still have the option of having a disk drive there at all times. So if it's like $50, especially if it's $50, then I'm just like, I'd much rather just, if it's there, I have it, and if I don't want to use it, then whatever.
Yeah.
So
a couple more things I just thought about the console. I like how like it sort of opens up at the top, because a lot of people complain about how loud the PS4 was, like both the standard and like the PS Pro. Like its fans are just so loud. So it seems like it kind of opens up and it has the vents at the top to give it, more air, I guess, and more room to cool itself off, which is good. And also, I didn't realize until I saw a comparison of the PS4 and this PS5 how big it was.
It's very big.
It's really big.
Yeah,
and it doesn't look that big when you first see it.
For sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty much for the most part all we could really say about the console itself.
I believe so. I'm excited.
Do you guys like the white and the black? Do you guys
Yeah.
like the white and the black, or do you wish it was all black?
I mean, I'd prefer an all black, but I kind of like that they're kind of, it's just different enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it certainly feels like a leap. Just the way it looks alone. Like even Series X looks different, but it is just another black console with a name that's very similar to all the previous consoles. So name and looks makes it feel like a bigger leap, especially.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's almost like they were looking for things to make this generation stand out, because in past generations, I guess from 360 to Xbox One, there was a big jump in HD graphics, right? Yeah. And even frame rate from 60 to 30, maybe not immediately, but that's the standard now. Back then it wasn't. But this generation, I feel like technology hasn't necessarily gone up as fast as it has in past generations. So they focused on more things like maybe how the console looks or how fast it loads things, stuff like that.
I don't know. I think the leap from this generation is going to be larger than it was from last generation to this.
Yeah.
And even initially, it may not feel or appear that way, but as we've seen already, classic example, I mean, this has happened every generation, but Last of Us Part 2, even on and I was on a PlayStation 4 Pro, but even on a Pro, looks like a next-gen game, big time, in its presentation. And to know that it's going to be playable on PS5, I assume, I don't know if textures and resolution will be relatively affected or not, but if anything, the frame rate I'm sure will be higher for Last of Us Part 2 on PlayStation 5, but even locked at 30 FPS, not to backtrack, is silky smooth on PlayStation 4 Pro. So, but
yeah, this thing's going to be as powerful or maybe more powerful than my computer, honestly. Especially its SSD. It's going to be faster than my computer in terms of loading, for sure.
Nice.
But it also it has a better SSD than most PCs even now, so it's going to.
Technically all PCs at this point.
Well, I think there's some SSDs that are faster.
I don't think any on the market.
I need to do more research on that. I was watching a video
on the market right
about
now. I don't think there are. But yeah.
Well, Amazing Dragon, no order. We're going to answer your question after we get through these games, but we will start the laundry list of titles to discuss here. There's some very exciting ones, but I think it's easy to say in all of our top three is, of course, Grand Theft Auto 5 being available on day one online. It says Rockstar's massively successful Grand Theft Auto 5 is coming to PS5. The new version will feature enhancements that will be expanded, and it's coming 2021 with GTA Online free to all PS5 owners. And all this info comes from GameSpot, but somehow our author of this article has disappeared. So shout out to whoever wrote it. We appreciate it. No, this game's from Games Radar, excuse me. How do we feel about that? Does that entice you at all? Does that make you want it even more because GTA Online's free?
No.
No, but I mean, it's I'm not hating that it's there.
No, I mean, it's on there. It's free. We'll take it.
We're also not the people that play this every single day. So someone that wants the new console and was also worried about whether they would still be able to play this with their friends every day doesn't have to worry. I don't know if it's going to have crossplay. I would assume that it does, but I don't know. Because that would be something to think about. If you're getting PS5 day one and this is what you want to play, because maybe things work out where a lot of things aren't coming out, and this is going to be like your game for a while. Like maybe you're just playing with PS5 players, and that could be concerning if there's not a lot of them. So I don't know. But this is good.
I take it this is not crossplay GTA Online.
I don't know if they've built the technology.
I don't think it's. Are you referring to like PS4 to PS5?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
like playing. Yeah. I don't know if there'll be any sort of crossplay at all. Like
I don't think there's crossplay at all. Period for GTA Online right now. I would assume.
Like I don't even know if it's something they're working on. I don't know.
They would. I'm assuming they would at least try and have like PS4 and PS5 be able to play with each other. But of course, I'm just assuming there. But
yeah,
guess we'll see. And a big surprise, probably the biggest surprise, if we're being honest, is Spider-Man Miles Morales. It says it was shown during the event. Miles Morales takes over as the playable character this time around. Actually, what they put in this description is incorrect, I think, after clarification, but it is essentially a Uncharted Lost Legacy type game where it's a side game, but it is a full-on game where you play as Miles Morales. And this is a precursor, of course, to, I imagine, the full-on sequel that Insomniac is inevitably or presently developing. But I know we had talked about, like, a dream of ours was to see a tease for the next Spider-Man game, because it's been almost 2 full years since it released. But this was a huge surprise. How'd you guys react to this?
I don't think anyone expected a new game this soon.
No, I definitely didn't. I didn't think about it being kind of like an offshoot game though, so that definitely makes more sense just to kind of have something at launch, especially with Insomniac probably knee deep in making the full-on sequel, and then them also working on Ratchet and Clank as well, just to put out something as high caliber as a Spider-Man game at launch time of PS5.
I wish I knew more about Insomniac. Like, I don't know how big their team is and how many they have. Because, like, was it like, there's no way it was like a deal where they all made Spider-Man and then, because like not too long before that came out, Ratchet and Clank came out too, right? So like, do they have a Ratchet and Clank team, or do they just brick their big team up to do things?
I mean, I'm assuming they have to have a decently sized team because they're probably working on at least 3 things at this point. With Miles Morales, the next Spider-Man, and Ratchet and Clank. Hopefully there's a 4th team working on Resistance. But
before we continue, I want to read this from Mason Martin. He wrote in and says, now that we know this is a standalone title in the vein of Uncharted Lost Legacy, what are your thoughts on this? What does it mean for the main Spider-Man series? Are we going to have 2 Spider-Man game series? Hope y'all are doing well. I imagine this is just meant to bridge the gap between the first and second game. I doubt we'd have like Spider-Man 2 and then a Spider-Man Miles Morales 2. This is certainly a continuation of the story, but in the shoes of, or the suit, I should say, of Miles Morales. And I'm sure it will tie into the follow-up to the first Spider-Man game.
Yeah,
I love that they're giving him his own standalone game. It's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. I would be shocked if in the actual sequel that you're not playing as both, Miles and Peter.
That's what I was going to say. I think this will be more of a bridge to tie the 2 characters to being playable in the next sequel.
Yeah.
But I could also see where like they keep making these like Lost Legacy type games in between like each game, right? Like the second one will come out and then like maybe they tell like, I don't know, Gwen Stacy will be
I want a
Spider-Man
full spin-off game where you do the Mary Jane reporter missions from the first game. I
want
a whole game dedicated to that.
But yeah, I could also see something like that. But yeah, I think you're right, Preston. I think we'll be playing both of them pretty equally, or maybe you'll even be able to team up and switch between the 2. I have no idea.
Dude, I freaking hope that they improve the stealth aspects in this game with his like chameleon ability or whatever it is. There's so much potential with Miles's other powers that he has to do some really cool things with this game. So I'm just hoping it's, as much as I'll still enjoy it, that it's not just these extra powers are just like little tacked on abilities just because it's like a shoot off and it's just, massively reusing assets and stuff from the original. So, Garrett, is everything all right?
Yeah, so I was reading a description for Gran Turismo. Not to jump ahead too quickly, but
we don't have to talk about it if you don't want.
No, it's all good.
It put me to sleep.
It's cool that I'm sure we can expect new animations for Miles that you'd think like they'd put the time in developing his character, even like his mannerisms and the way he fights and the way he web swings. So that's exciting. I'm sure we'll have a whole catalog of suits to collect. I'm sure one of them will be from Into the Spider-Verse, which I'm excited about. Mm-hmm. So a lot of stuff to look forward to. I think New York looks really cool already. Just the brief trailer we see in the wintertime is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see what story they're going to tell.
Unlike the Godfall trailer, I think the hip hop trailer fit a lot better.
For Miles Morales, the trailer is awesome for Spider-Man.
Yeah,
that Godfall trailer sucked so hard. My goodness.
I've watched the Spider-Man trailer like 5 times. I really like it.
Yeah, it's very cool.
That's cool.
Gran Turismo 7 is in the works for PS5. It features a campaign mode developed with Polyphony Digital. The racing simulator looks incredibly realistic, both in its vehicles and its environments. Only thing I have to say about Gran Turismo is that I played a ton of Gran Turismo 3 on PS2 back in the day, only because my dad's friend, when my parents got me the PS2, told him, like, dude, Gran Turismo is amazing. You got to get your son Gran Turismo. So I dabbled around in that game, but didn't understand it because it's like it's a racing sim, and it was very, even at the time, very in depth. And as a young kid, I just wanted to like race and Need for Speed and just crash cars and outrun the cops. So I didn't fully understand it. That was the extent of my experience with Gran Turismo. But beautiful demo. Game looks beautiful, but it just reminds me of all the Forza stuff we've seen in the past, where it's a beautiful racing sim. If you love car games,
that's how I look at these games. It's almost like graphical tech demos.
Yeah.
For the most part, but yeah.
Yeah, me and Garrett were working on the notes last night, and I was sort of talking to him why I didn't necessarily like these games that much, and it's you just pointed it out. Like, it's more so like a simulation of something that I do all the time. Like, albeit I'm not driving these nice ass cars, obviously, but like I more appreciate games like Mario Kart or something that's a little more arcadey. That's just
something
fun.
A little more realistic.
Yeah, not to say like these games are not fun, because of course they are. Like, people love Gran Turismo, Forza, like they love these games, but it's just not my cup of tea.
Same. Still waiting on my pod racing video game.
Hey, oh, that's something we forgot to put in the notes. The Star Wars game that EA announced.
Aren't they revealing it on tomorrow?
Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess we could save it for next show, but yeah, that got
like called Star Wars Squadrons.
I think I have no idea.
And I gotta be honest, dude. I'm not gonna judge it before I see it, but like I'm already thinking like I don't think they could show anything from a Star Wars ship combat game that would interest me.
It seems like something that should have like a whole like gameplay section in Battlefront. Like, that should be another tab in Battlefront to just do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, it could be incredibly badass and the best like flight Star Wars game that's ever been developed, and I hope it is, but I hope there's more to it than just like ship battles.
Yeah,
like I can have fun with that for maybe a match or two if it's like speaking of multiplayer only, but we'll see. But talking about racing games before we move on, I think I told you this, Jacob. The best racing experience I have ever had, and probably ever will have, was at E3 in 2018 at the Microsoft showcase. They had this rig for Forza that was built to be like you're in a car, and the screen and like field of view is set up to be as immersive as possible, and the whole machine shook and turned, and like whenever you went like across a turn or around a turn that's on a slope, it would feel like you're on a slope, and whenever you got hit by another car, the whole car would shake. And you had like the gear and like the wheel, of course. So it was awesome. That was the coolest, and it was surround sound audio too. So that was an amazing experience. But if I can't have that in my house, I'm probably not going to play many racing games, because after you play that, you just can't go back.
Yeah.
But the one that we had, of course, predicted and hoped for is the Ratchet and Clank follow-up called Rift Apart, which is funny. I think Brian Altano made a good point, how he thought it said rips a fart. And then he mentioned, which I hadn't really like put two and two together, where he said all the Ratchet and Clank games sort of had like an entendre or like hidden title behind the names, like Going
Up
Commando.
Your Arsenal.
Up Your Arsenal, Going Commando.
Yeah,
so
like
what's
Going
that?
Commando.
What's that game that came out a while back that has a funny title like that?
Fractured Butthole.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, South Park. So yeah, Rift Apart. That's great. A new Ratchet and Clank game is in development, and it looks like the heroes have found themselves in a universe with collapsing dimensions, futuristic cities, and dinosaurs. The demonstration featured gameplay that included a rain grinding section and even a flight on an alien creature, including a female Lombax. Which is pretty cool.
Dude,
I mean, of course,
I had to unfollow a lot of people on Twitter.
why?
Really?
Because of the crap they were posting of her.
Oh, is it like?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like Rule 64 stuff or whatever?
Yeah, or 34, yeah. Yeah, dude. I was like, what in the... I did not know...
Who are you
y'all-
following?
Guys, I did not know these people were into that stuff.
Oh yeah, there's
Like-
a whole Lombax community, bro.
That's
Like,
hilarious, man. I guess the furries are into it too.
I mean, I know like Too Mad, for instance, which guy cracks me up. I think he was retweeting it just because it was hilarious, but I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I can't follow you if you're retweeting stuff like that, dude.
Man.
But yeah.
Wow.
I think it's cool they're introducing a new Lombax. I know you're not saying that, but I think there's a lot of
No, I think she
potential
looks
for-
awesome. I just
Yeah.
don't want to see some of the pictures that are popping up
Right.
on my Twitter.
Yeah, so obviously this title has multiple meanings. Rift Apart is in like it looks like Ratchet and Clank get separated at least for a time in the game, and I assume you wouldn't just play as Clank because that would just drive me crazy. I think you play as Clank a couple of times in the remake.
Yes.
They've done it
Those were
throughout the
Those were the
series.
worst parts, dude. I've
Exactly.
the remake on PS4 like at least 5 or 6 times, and those were the most boring parts for
I
sure.
think it's
Yeah,
really
so that's-
challenging to not make it boring because of just he's Clank, you know.
Yeah,
Like
as soon as
Yeah.
they separated in the trailer, I was like, shit. It's just like, I don't want to play half the game as him, but I assume he'll just join up with the female Lombax and she'll probably have a different arsenal of weapons. So he's either with her or with Ratchet the entire game.
it makes me wonder: is Ratchet going to find a new companion, and they'll like both have someone new? We'll have like 2 new characters for
Maybe.
you know.
Yeah, he might
We'll
find
see.
like a new Clank type companion in this other dimension he's collapsed into. It was pretty cool. You can jump between dimensions instantaneously. They said they're taking advantage of that SSD to do so, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mention. Like this trailer did the best job of like potentially, you know, getting behind the idea of what the PlayStation 5 can do this generation, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed it for that reason.
It's
Oh,
the it's one of the cooler looking like tech demo gimmicks, like taking advantage of not that faster loading is a gimmick, but they're making it an actual like gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, and it's like because it's a Sony game, they've made it because of that.
Yeah, it's a lot better than the like PS Vita Golden Abyss like dusting off artifacts and stuff with the back touchpad on your PS Vita. It's definitely way cooler than that.
Definitely. Looks like a Pixar movie as always. So I'm just thinking about how bad I have to pee. I'm gonna go pee after I introduce
I
this
have to
next
pee
game.
so bad too.
But maybe we'll just let Preston take it himself.
Sure.
But it looks awesome. I'm so excited. And as we know, Insomniac just makes very fun video games. So this is bound to be
Oh
great.
yeah, for sure.
Project Athia. I think that's how you say it. Athia,
Athia.
maybe? Square Enix and Luminous Productions premiered a game called Project Athia, which featured werewolf-like creatures and flying sections. It will come exclusively to PlayStation 5. I've got to pee, guys. I'll be back.
All right.
Anything excite
So-
you about this one?
Yes, because I believe this is the studio that was started by. It has some connection to the team that did Final Fantasy 15.
Okay.
So that excites me because I really like that game. But besides that, I just thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
So,
I guess I
don't
like the
really-
jumping sequence. Like it seemed pretty cool, and then like the dragon at the end. I like dragons, so
Dragons.
there's
are
not really
pretty
a whole
cool.
lot to say about this.
Yeah,
It did leave
I'm
me
interested.
wondering because I saw the Square Enix logo and I was like, okay, it's Project Athia. Is this like going to turn into Final Fantasy one day?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Final Fantasy like 16 or something.
It's like
People.
people thought that
granted-
with Octopath Traveler too.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It might be at some
Mhm.
point. Where they
Yeah.
could pull a Hideo Kojima thing announcing the Phantom Pain and not saying it's actually Metal Gear Solid. So
Mhm.
we'll see. It didn't look like a Final Fantasy game.
Yeah,
So who knows?
definitely like opening up. It seemed like that's what it was going to be.
for sure.
The next game on here is Stray, and it's Annapurna Interactive revealed a robotic game called Stray. set in a world where humans have died off. Cats, however, are still in abundance, and the robots appear to be replacing humanity with their old roles. It sports a neo-infused aesthetic, and adorable kitties wear backpacks. It's coming in 2021. Any thoughts on this? Like, I don't even remember this.
Zero thoughts.
Next one is Returnal. A new franchise from Sony was shown during the event. Developed by formerly arcade-focused Housemarque, Returnal features a crash landing on an alien planet where the protagonist keeps revealing the same events, including her death, over and over again. Or reliving the same events, sorry. The planet, however, changes every time she dies. So
I am interested in this. I like Housemarque. This is cool seeing like their first foray into AAA games and stuff. So I thought it looked cool. I like their games. I think the title of the game is awesome too. Returnal. That just sounds really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am definitely interested in that one.
Remind me what else they've made.
They made Resogun, Dead Nation, Alien Nation. Man, they've made a bunch of.
They made another game like Resogun that came out after it, right? What was it called? Like it was still like a spacey game, I think.
I don't know. They've made a lot of mainly like arcade type games.
Yeah. And then weren't they the studio that said they didn't want to make those kind of games anymore? Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Which is why I guess they're doing this one. But I think it looks really cool.
All right, Garrett. Thoughts on Is it Revival?
Returnal.
Returnal. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.
Is this the
Housemarque game?
Okay. I saw the trailer last night, and I guess it looks pretty cool. Kind of reminds me of what's that movie? Edge of Tomorrow?
Edge of Tomorrow, I think.
Dude, I'm dying to watch that again.
Tom
Cruise and Emily Blunt. That movie's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting concept.
I told Jacob I love the name Returnal. I just think that sounds so cool.
It reminds me of title of my third favorite Ghost Inside album called Returners. I've always liked that. Returners, Returnal. It's pretty. It works too for like the shtick of the game where you're dying and coming back to life. Sure. It's cool.
Yep.
Sackboy Big Adventure. Dude, I was talking to Jacob about this. I think this is so funny that he was like, dude, maybe we'll see another Sackboy. And you're like, you mean Little Big Planet? But the game's actually called Sackboy A Big Adventure. It says, developed by Sumo Digital, Sackboy A Big Adventure is the latest game in the Little Big Planet franchise. It features action-oriented gameplay and 3D platforming rather than the 2D from the first 3 games. I gotta be honest, Preston, with my technical difficulties this morning, I did not get to watch every one of these trailers, so I have not seen more than half of these.
I mean,
how does this look?
It looks exact. It kind of looks like Mario 3D World, just that kind of like perspective, but you're just running around a Sackboy. So, it looks fine.
Have you ever played a Little Big Planet?
Yes.
Okay, I have not. I've seen it in action. I've just never played it for myself.
Not necessarily like my cup of tea. The whole making stuff isn't, my most favorite thing to do in games. But they're charming for sure.
Cool. Jacob, how do you feel about being correct in your Sackboy prediction?
It feels pretty good, man. I just had a feeling that Sackboy was his time to shine again. He's been sleeping for a while, and he deserves his own game.
He's back for a big adventure.
Yeah, he's bigger than Little Planet now. Did you mention that? Like how we talked about that last night?
Yeah.
Like I feel like Sackboy is bigger. Like it's a more recognizable name than Little Big Planet at this point. So it makes sense that he is the focus.
Now we just need another Yarny follow-up. He and Sackboy.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe they'll team up.
Mm-hmm.
Destruction All-Stars. Lucid Games premiered an action sports game called Destruction All-Stars during the event, featuring destructible vehicles as well as on-foot characters. It looks like it could be a demolition derby taken to the absolute limit with impressive particle effects and physics. Haven't seen the trailer, so it's up to you guys to talk about this one.
No. Let's move
you haven't
on.
seen it either?
I don't really have anything to say on it.
I don't really have anything to say until like Ghostwire Tokyo, on this list?
Oh, I have. So I think the next game, like I think some of these we don't even have to read the things
we can
for
just
because they're so or you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like the next game we have on here is Kina Bridge of Spirits, I believe. That game looks really freaking cool to me. Did y'all see that trailer?
No, I've not seen it.
Definitely check it out. I think the description about it being like Pixar-like definitely looks like one of their movies. It's like a third-person action-adventure looking game where you have like a bow and arrow. It looks really, really cool. So I would definitely highlight that one and check out the trailer. Out of the next couple of games, that one definitely stands out to me the most.
I know Goodbye Volcano High is a furry game.
Oh yeah,
got a bunch of wolves and animals.
It reminded me of the Night in the Woods type game.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so indifferent on that. Oddworld Soulstorm looks cool. Looks like a Oddworld Abe's Odyssey type of platformer. Where you're playing is like it's kind of like puzzle based with people following you around and stuff. Yeah, if you're into that stuff, there's that. Ghostwire Tokyo. So this was one of the 2 games that apparently are going to be exclusive to PS5 for some period of time from Bethesda, which I think is very interesting. But this game, I might have just been completely out of the loop, but I did not expect this game to be first person, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
Just coming from the Evil Within developers. But I thought it looked interesting for sure. I'm definitely, more into it, more interested than I was prior to seeing this trailer.
Yeah. It started making me like I was trying to think of like other games that sort of do like, so something that really stood out to me in the trailer was the combat, and not just the combat, but how flashy it was in terms of like using abilities and stuff. Like all that stuff was just really flashy and appealing to me. And I was wondering like what other games do this? Like I guess BioShock sort of does some of this stuff, and I was trying to think of other games, but I couldn't really think of a whole lot. But I just think for that fact alone, it looks fun to play. So and that's always a good thing for a game.
I'm more interested in the like horror aspects of it. Because the trailer, I know it's supposed to, at least I think it's supposed to be like a horror game, but I don't know if the trailer did a good job of kind of showing that. So hopefully, it has a few spooks to it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
looks
looks good.
Some spooks.
For sure.
Jet the Far Shore. Don't know what this is.
Same.
I think it was just Godfall.
Or are you going to say, Preston?
I think it was I can't remember if that one was the spaceship game or not. Regardless if it was or not, I wasn't too interested in it.
Okay.
As we just said, I'm not really too drawn to vehicle based games. So
there's a helicopter above my house right now.
Nice.
I wonder if we'll be able to hear it.
Maybe. I'm surprised. It's like, and as soon as the sun goes down in Atlanta, it's like relentless sirens and helicopters in my area. So
I imagine.
Yeah. So what y'all think about Godfall?
Dude, Jacob and I crapped all over this last night. We watched the trailer. Like, this looks like bad. Like, I think it looks like a bad game, honestly.
I kind of want to know more what's going on, because it looked I know it's from some Borderland people, I believe, and it's supposed to be like a slash, and they had like
looter slasher.
A looter slasher.
Yeah, that's what they say in the description.
Yeah,
that's what they said when they first announced it, like last fall.
Yeah, at the Game Awards. This was technically the first PS5 game announced.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to see those elements, because the trailer, it just looks like a generic looking hack and slash game.
Yeah, they just keep showing these highlight reels of dudes slashing guys. Like, we get that that's what you do, but like what do you really do in the game?
Yeah.
Like, I need to know more, because it just seems like you're just showing this stuff over and over again because the game is incredibly shallow and there's nothing to do. Like,
so
at this point we should know more about it.
I'm not completely writing it off yet, but I definitely think that the concept is cool. So I'm staying with it, or I'm staying a little interested in it just for that premise alone.
For sure. It has tropes that I have always liked. I like gearing my character. I like the combat looks compelling to some degree. It did look a little framey, and performance-wise, it didn't look the best. So that concerns me a little bit. But if this has like, you know, maybe it has like random levels. Maybe it's a set levels with a good, you know, small narrative. I have no idea, but we just need to know more at this point. But the trailer was ridiculous. The music was awful.
Yeah, the hip hop did not help it. But again, like before I watched that trailer, I came across another one that had like more fantasy-like orchestral music that fit it.
I think the one you watched was from the PC Gamer show.
Yeah.
And that's where we learned that it's also coming to PC, which is cool, I guess.
Yep.
So it's not an exclusive.
Godfall. Solar Ash. Creators of Hyperlight Drifter.
Yep.
Haven't seen that trailer either.
Looks fine. What'd y'all think of Hitman 3?
Haven't seen this trailer either.
Looked cool. The Hitman is, again, I've said it a million times, one of those games that I should be 100% into, but for some reason I can't get into it. So
Same.
Who knows? Maybe.
Have you thought about why you think that is?
No.
You think it's just because of the character or like the world?
I don't know.
I thought I thought Hitman was just called Hitman now, and they were just continually updating it.
No, there was a Hitman 2 already.
I knew there was a Hitman 2, but I thought with that one they decided like they were just going to update it, kind of like what Destiny's doing. Like instead of making
so the first Hitman game was released in episodes, and then nobody really liked that, so they just released Hitman 2 as a full game, and I think they're just doing full games now.
To clarify, I don't think any people liked the release model, but they liked the game a lot.
Yes,
like the finished product.
For sure.
And then with 2, they just did that. They just released it all.
Yep.
It's never been like a huge, like, you know, blockbuster game, but it's always had like a really big cult following, I would say.
Yeah.
It looks fun to me. I'm not going to play it. Like I know what Hitman is. It's not for me, but it looks cool.
I think I want to give it one more shot. Maybe the second one, or I guess might as well just wait for this one. But I definitely think it should vibe with me more than it does. So granted, I've never like played past the first mission. So, yeah. Astro's Playroom. I believe this is just another game that comes on the PlayStation 4, which is supposed to take like advantage of haptic feedback and stuff inside of your controllers, kind of like how the Playroom or whatever was with the PS4. So
this seemed like an easy prediction, like something that was going to happen.
For
after the success of the other robot game.
For sure.
That one was on VR, correct?
There was one that took advantage of just the camera, and then there was another one that took advantage of VR. There were 2 of those.
Yeah, I remember the first one, the camera, it was like, it came with the game, or the console, right?
I don't think it came with the maybe it did? I don't know. I
swear there was something like when the console launched that had those robots.
Yeah.
I know the PSVR had a demo for him too.
I know there was one with just the camera though too. That might have come with the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. Little Devil Inside. That trailer looked pretty cute. I think if that's the one I'm referring to or thinking about. NBA 2K21. The only thing I really have to say about that is that it doesn't. I didn't think it looked as good as it should have looked. Like Zion Williams looked fake to me. It's like the sweat and stuff was cool, but he still didn't look like photorealistic to me. I don't know if y'all thought that as well, or if y'all even saw this trailer. Okay, it still looked like it didn't look as good as I thought it should have looked. So I guess that's just my negativity coming out there.
So I was working out in the middle of watching this, so this is one of those trailers that I just put my phone back down and did another set.
Yeah, I mean, I do think the 2K games are, especially like when the first PS4 one was released or the next gen one, I thought it looked extremely impressive just because it looked like a big graphical leap. But this one just didn't impress me to that extent. But I'd like to just see actual gameplay of it before I give any judgment, as opposed to this just like little video they showed. Bug Snacks.
Bug snacks.
That trailer was pretty cool. It's from the people that made Octodad, so you can kind of what to expect with their type of games.
It
then I
was
guess
ridiculous.
yeah. Demon Souls, which of course was the worst kept secret ever in games, I think, with Blue Point working on it. I am incredibly excited for this. I only dabbled in the PS3 version, and this graphically looks absolutely
amazing.
Phenomenal, especially
when you compare it to the old one.
Oh yeah, like it looks it's like it looks like a PS2 game right beside like a actual photograph that somebody took.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was talking to a coworker at work, and he's really into Soulsborne games, and he's played this game, and he told me that the healing system is a lot like Bloodborne, in a sense where you don't have like a vial that refills every time you die or you bonfire. So that's a little concerning to me, because I hated like farming whatever it was in Bloodborne to get more health potions for like boss fights and whatnot. But and it's just a really like it was the first one of these games, so it has some things that aren't that we're used to in like the newer Soul games. So I wonder if like they're going to maybe rethink some things, or if it's literally just going to be a recreation of how it was. I don't know if I would rather it be one way or the other, but I assume they wouldn't change a whole lot about the game, honestly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if like we have some stories about like them changing things, or if it's just going to be faithful to what it was.
We'll see. Preston, I told Jacob I got to beat Sekiro before I play this. I just owe it to myself, because I beat Bloodborne and beat Dark Souls 3. I got to beat Sekiro.
Where did you stop in that game?
Which one?
Sekiro.
I got to the big ape in my initial playthrough, but I wanted to start fresh, and I started fresh like a month or so ago. It was a disaster.
Yeah, the ape is where it gets good.
Yeah, so it's a goal of mine to finish it before Demon Souls is out. We didn't even read this, dude. Forgive me. Andrew Mamurda writes in and says, "Hello, gentlemen. A Demon Souls confirmed remake or remaster. A lot of signs are pointing to a serious overhaul and the possibility of a fractured mode. To what extent do you think they will change the original experience, and what would you like to see? I'm not only excited to finally experience the story and atmosphere of this game, but also the fresh feeling of summoning the PvP that comes with the launch of every Souls title. Love the new format and hope to invade you guys soon."
Yeah, and my buddy also mentioned like I think there might even be like a boss sequence, or like he said something about you walk into a room and then 4 other people spawn in this room, and it's like a boss fight or something. You have to, whoever kills everyone else gets to walk out and gets the boss clear. Like I thought that was kind of hardcore cool and intense.
That is hardcore.
Like if that's a boss fight, just fighting other people, it could be a complete joke depending who you fight, or it could be the hardest thing ever. So if they do something like that again, it could be pretty cool.
Well, his first point, remake or remaster, like remake.
What?
He said, "Hello, gentlemen. With Dark Souls confirmed, remake or remaster? ?
Oh.
I mean, it's a remake."
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else did he say? I sort of spoke to some of this when I was talking earlier when we first brought it up.
And I don't have enough like experience with the original Demon Souls to even talk about what I would like changed or anything like that. So hopefully they just bring it up to like the standards of more modern From Software games.
Yeah,
that's kind of my only hope.
Hopefully they don't change too much for the people that really enjoyed the first one.
Yeah, and I think Blue Point's really good, just as they showed with their Shadow of the Colossus, how to bring games, more modern, but retaining, what made the original the original. I mean, they straight up just like remade that game, one for one. So who knows, that might be exactly what they do with this one. So regardless, I'm excited for it.
I can't believe I didn't play Shadows.
So good. Deathloop, Arcane Studios.
I'm pumped for this, dude. It looks like, I forget who said it, but it looks like Dishonored mixed with Prince of Persia, Sands of Time.
Yeah, I need to see all these trailers. I haven't seen more.
Garrett,
than
I told
half
you
of
to
them.
watch this trailer. It was
I wanted
something
to,
up
but
your alley.
I know I had that technical problem. It took me like an hour to fix this morning.
Yeah, it looks like a very like stylized, like Dishonored and like a 70s spy flick, but with
Cool.
of course like the whole death loop process, which I'm not really sure how it's going to work gameplay wise, but it's like when you die, you rewind time and do it again or whatever. So definitely has like the rewind time feature in Sands of Time and stuff. So yeah, looks cool. I'm always
Sweet.
down to try Arcane's games. Really enjoy their stuff. So
Nice. Before I mention this one, Bobby C writes in again and says, "How awesome does Resident Evil look?" And I know we're all collectively extremely excited about this. I'll just go ahead and read the description. It says, "Was shown during the presentation with the shot of a forest, creepy stuffed animals, a woman reading a folktale before things get violent. It will be in first person, just like Resident Evil 7, and looks to put an emphasis on atmosphere and horror over action. Also, there are werewolves. Comes out in 2021. Roman numeral 8. The title, Resident Evil Village." Cool trailer in spite of the choppy frame rate. How'd you guys feel about it?
oh, I'm incredibly excited.
Yeah, this isn't my, not to spoil the answer to, what is it? Forgive me, man. Amazing Dragons question. This is in my top 3 for sure.
Yeah, probably.
Can't wait. I've garnered quite a heart for Resident Evil over the last few years, and I'm incredibly excited to see Ethan's story continue, what the deal is with Chris Redfield, and the
Just
setting
straight
looks,
up capping his wife right in front
Yep.
of him. That's pretty
Yep.
intense.
But awesome looking setting, werewolves, reminiscent of Resident Evil 4 in some ways. I love the castle. It just looks great. I'm very excited.
I
Same.
think I liked the space, the environment in this one more. And I think I like it more because it's, well, I don't want to say it's less scary, but I don't like swamps. I don't want to be around them. I don't want to know what's inside the swamps. I don't want to mess with any of that. But with a more traditional haunted setting, that, you know, like a castle in an abandoned area, it's a little more appealing to me. And I think the tropes that go along with, you know, that kind of setting have the potential to be a little more I don't know what I'm trying to say, like distinct or just scarier. It'll just be a nice change of pace, I guess, from 7. And it does look like this one could potentially be in VR as well. I don't know if the new VR will come out with PS5, you know, or how long it'll take for that new model to launch, but surely on other, like on a computer or maybe on PS4 even, you'll be able to play it in VR.
I mean,
So-
I'm assuming I don't know if they've confirmed it yet, but I'm pretty
Yeah, I don't
sure
think
that
they
the PSVR is going to work with PS5.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see because they did announce the camera, so
I'm
You would
pretty
think it-
sure it will.
you would hope it would.
Yeah.
But yeah, looks cool.
I feel like I just lost my train of thought. It was extremely relevant to what we were talking about. Oh, yeah. I think it's safe to assume that 99% of leaks and rumors these days are almost always true. I think this is the 3rd time where Preston has shared leaks or rumors with me about a game, and they've been almost entirely correct every time. So tread lightly out there. Leaks and rumors abounding if you don't want things spoiled.
Oh, the village
sure.
just works so well. Like it's literally the Roman numeral at the beginning of the word, and it just makes too much
Yeah, it's
sense.
cool that they're doing that going forward. You know, like Biohazard, the last one, and now Village with this one.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty cool,
Yeah.
dude. Pragmata. This is that post-apocalyptic game where you're playing as a cat.
That is not true.
Did I? What did I?
It's a post-apocalyptic game set in a world where cats are now holograms. Horrifying natural disasters wreck the world of Pragmata. This is like the space suit, or the dude with the space suit.
Oh,
from
that. Where
Capcom.
did we
Yeah.
skip over the one about the cat?
No, that you went to the bathroom when we talked about that.
Oh,
one.
that's why.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's all right. This one looks like you're playing as the space guy from the Kojima Productions logo.
Yeah. I've seen this trailer.
Yeah, definitely looks trippy. I'm interested for sure, but I have no clue what it is. And it's coming in 2022, so at this point, who the heck cares? Like, honestly.
Yeah.
It's
like movies that have like release dates in 2022 and beyond. I'm like, who cares? It's like studios releasing dates like that.
I'll get excited later for that one.
Yeah. Movies do that?
Yeah, they had to with the COVID stuff. All the dates have changed for all these big movies.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, that's different.
Then we ended with a bang with Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, yeah. Big one. This is one I think we all sort of predicted. It was one of those exclusives that have been out the longest that we assumed would be right around the time where we thought a sequel would be coming, and, shocker. Here it is.
For sure.
It seems like it's coming out next year, I think. It was 2021.
I don't think it's said, but that's probably safe to assume.
Mm-hmm. But it looks good. It's cool that she's going to the Forbidden West. We saw the Golden Gate Bridge, so she'll be in California, at least some portion of the game.
Yeah, and it seems like some big old turtles, some tortoise, some like pterodactyl looking creatures. I think it'd have been cooler if, I guess it doesn't really make sense in gameplay depending on how they do it, but it'd be cool if you could mount one of these pterodactyl things and fly around. I think that would have hit way harder than her riding her typical bull or whatever, a ram through the world.
Maybe they want to save that.
Obviously, it looks gorgeous. The underwater stuff looks gorgeous, but as soon as I see her swimming around, I'm like, ugh. Like, I'm sure it looks pretty, but they better make this good. If they're emphasizing
that's always the fear, because people do not like underwater sequences in any game.
Seems like underwater sequences I've played recently, they've pretty much, learned how to make it control well.
Yeah, so that's the biggest thing.
I'm not too worried about it.
Everyone hates that floaty feeling of like having like a delayed effect. Like, it's not intuitive. Like, you got to wait for your character to like get repositioned, and then they start moving, and then you can't stop quickly.
I thought Shadow of the Tomb Raider's underwater controls actually felt pretty good. Okay. So I'm sure it'd probably be along the lines of that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was thinking sort of the same thing. Like, it seemed like there was a structure in front of her that she could go explore. So I wondered if there were just going to be a lot of portions in the game that were like that, or, who knows. But
do you think with the her climbing that mountain, do you think this is going to be more like Breath of the Wild as opposed to the first game where you had to go to certain areas to climb and you can just climb anything now? I hope that's what it means.
It's a good question.
Yeah. I would love for this to be like, dude, I don't know. I think they specifically showed her doing that for a reason. Mm-hmm. That's my theory.
Well, she also had some dialogue. It seemed like she was trying to just overcome like an obstacle at the moment. Like, she was sort of like having like this battle in her head, and she was like overcoming the cliff as she was also like having a revelation or something.
I think they're going to do that in this one, because I think that kind of restricted the first one a little bit. I mean, I love the first one, but I think adding the ability to climb.
Did it restrict it, or did it? Or are you just thinking that because they came out at the same time and you were playing them both?
I mean, after playing Breath of the Wild, it's like, I want to climb everything now. And I think that, games need to look at that and try and put their own spin on it, because games do feel like more restricted after playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right. I mean, like I said, it did come out at the same time, and they probably were looking at that game, comparing it to their own, like the developers themselves, as they were, seeing what all the ripple effects of who were playing what. And, I almost feel like that game got overshadowed because of Breath of the Wild that year. So it would make sense for them to maybe look at that game and be like, how can we sort of take some things that worked in Zelda and, apply it to our own game?
For sure.
Yeah, we can hope for sure. That'd be great. Interested in the story. I mean, I thought Aloy's monologue was extremely generic, but I know they don't want to spoil anything. But apparently, what's his name from the first game is up to something. He's corrupting more robotic animals, which we've seen before. So I'm wondering what his goal is. I can't remember what his deal is the whole game, but I remember
that's Zavala from Destiny.
Yeah, I remember elements of Zero Dawn's story, and a lot of it I really, really liked a lot. Even though I predicted it, I think in the first hour of the game, it was still cool to have it all revealed. So I'd like to know more about the story, but it's just her generic dialogue of like the world is corrupted and I have to be the hero and I have to save it. Like heard that 1,000 times, but it looks beautiful, so I'm excited to see more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to play it again on PC as well.
Absolutely, very excited for that.
Hopefully that shadow drops at some point this summer.
That'd be great.
So,
Amazing Dragon, we're going to answer your question. Our top 3 from the reveal event. What's it going to be, boys?
Mine is Horizon, number 1, then Spider-Man, Miles Morales, number 2, and number 3 would be, as I quickly scroll back through these, RE8, I would say.
What about you, Preston?
Yeah, it was tough for me not to put Ratchet and Clank in there, but that's an honorable mention if we're going to do that, I guess.
yeah, I'm probably just going to have RE8, Horizon, and Ratchet and Clank. And I know you're probably thinking, dude, why would Preston ever leave Spider-Man out of his top 3? I think it's mainly because of what it is. Don't get me wrong, I'm still like hyped out of my mind for it, but just seeing, just knowing that it's probably just like and I hope I'm dead wrong here, but just like a mild improvement over the first game as they're setting up a sequel, takes away from my hype just a teeny tiny bit, as opposed to seeing like a full on brand new Ratchet and Clank game after loving the PS4 one so much. Then of course I love Resident Evil. Resident Evil 8 looks amazing, and then Horizon looked amazing too. So those are my 3.
Yeah, I think we talked about this, but it almost makes you think, like, was this made because the PS5 needed something at launch, or was it made because it needed to be made, or because they had a good reason?
Which one?
Miles Morales, the new Spider-Man game. Because it doesn't seem like any of these big games are coming out when the console does.
I mean, I think it could be a little bit of both.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
That's the one thing I hope they address later on, though, is like what these launch games are. Because as far as we know, Miles Morales is like the only game out of all of these that is actually coming out at launch.
Godfall.
Okay,
I've said that. Yeah.
I mean, like first.
Come on, get hyped. Godfall, man.
First party, definitely Spider-Man, as we know. Ratchet and Clank would be awesome. Is there a date on that, or did they not say?
No date.
Okay. Top 3 for me are Resident Evil, Ratchet and Clank, and Spider-Man. I'm excited for Horizon, but I'll need to see a little more to like get really stoked. If they announce you can climb anything like Breath of the Wild, I'll lose my mind for that. But for the time being, based on what we've seen from everything, Ratchet, Spider-Man, and Resident Evil for me.
I really hope Aloy has cooler things to wear in the sequel. Because a lot of the stuff was just dumb.
Yeah, I'm glad they added that update where you can
fits.
remove the headgear after a while.
Yes, please.
Onward. Persona 4 Golden is now on Steam. Comatose writes in and says, "Hey guys, by the time you read this question on the podcast, Persona 4 Golden may have been released on Steam. I am very excited to see the Persona series come to PC because it is easily my favorite RPG series, and more people deserve to experience its greatness. My question for you is, what is one of your favorite games from the past that you'd like to see on PC someday if it isn't already on there?" That's a great question. Floor is yours, boys. I've played 23 hours of Persona 4 on Vita, but I didn't pick it up after that. May or may not ever play it again, but it's pretty cool that it is on PC, like he says. But how do you guys feel about this? I know Preston kind of shared his thoughts at the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, hearing this announcement was really cool. I was never going to get a Vita, so I was never going to play this. But now that it is on Steam, I'm really excited. And like, it was always like hearing you guys talk about it, and also just other people. Like, it's one of those games that I knew that I would really like to play. So I think once I play through Last of Us, maybe in between that and Shadows of Tsushima,
Ghost.
I might, or Ghosts. Yes, thank you. Maybe I'll play that, or maybe I'll just wait till later in the summer. But I do want to play it. I think I will.
Cool. Yeah. Still got to get to 5. Gonna play 5 between Tsushima and Cyberpunk, undoubtedly. But yeah, it's cool. Games I'd like to see on PC that aren't there already. Pretty much any PlayStation exclusive we've played. Spider-Man, God of War would be cool on PC. Bloodborne would be cool on PC. What else?
I'd love Bloodborne
I
on PC.
always imagined that I wanted to see Halo officially on PC, and we have that now, which is awesome. But a lot of PlayStation exclusives for me would be great on PC.
The old me would have said Destiny 2, and that happened.
Yep. And as we know, Horizon is on its way, so that's exciting.
I want any Naughty Dog game, or like from Uncharted or
totally.
Last of Us on PC.
Totally.
The
Or
dream.
Spider-Man for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I mean, any Nintendo game would be great.
I mean, Ratchet and Clank in 60 FPS bare minimum would be unbelievable, because the whole time I played Ratchet on PS4, it runs beautifully locked at 30 FPS, but to imagine those bolts flying around in a higher frame rate would be gorgeous. That's what I didn't realize, that the Spyro collection was on PC, and I played it at Preston's place for a bit, and it blew my mind. I mean, it runs perfectly well on PS4, but it was gorgeous in a higher frame rate in 4K.
Yeah.
But yeah, Comatose, thanks for writing in, man. No Man's Sky has an update. Says, this is actually from their team at Hello Games. It says, do you have a friend on another gaming system with whom you've always wanted to explore the great unknown? A legendary base you've seen videos of but never been able to visit? A mission that you think would be great to play with friends on other platforms? Well, we are excited to announce that starting tomorrow, this is now past, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC players will all be able to explore, journey, survive, build, and trade together. Excitingly, No Man's Sky is joining what is, at the moment, a fairly small group of games which support cross-platform multiplayer. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
Yep. I still want to experience that game in VR, if even for an hour, just to try it, because I know we had fantasized about that back in the day, but I haven't tried it yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that game's come a long way, and it's cool for people that have stuck it out, and people that are genuinely fans that can now cross-play with their friends. Is an awesome update. So more power to Hello Games for all the improvements they've made to the game since launch. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
More interestingly, I know Preston and I, at the very least, this comes from Connor Sheridan of Games Radar. Mass Effect 3 is now out on Steam, completing Commander Shepard's journey on Valve's PC storefront. The final piece of the Mass Effect trilogy, the first two have been out there for years, arrived on Steam along with the 8 other titles from EA's back catalog. They follow the 13 games that EA brought to Steam earlier this month. All of the titles are currently discounted by at least 50%, though mind that Steam will soon get support for EA Access, which will allow you to play all of them for free as long as you stay subscribed. The full list of games, starting on June 11th, which is now also passed, is Battlefield 1, 3, 4, 5, Hardline, Mass Effect 3, Andromeda, Battlefront 1 and 2. This is cool. You can play the entire Mass Effect trilogy and Andromeda on PC. I told Jacob, if you're ever to play any of them, please play 2. It is still so good. Whether or not you play the first or third, the second one is so worth playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I recently just played 2 and it holds up extremely well. I did see some people on the Steam reviews for Mass Effect 3 were absolutely destroying it, because I think even though these games are on Steam now, you still have to open Origin to even play them. So it's like, it's like technically on Steam, but it still is going through Origin.
Is that not how all their games are?
I don't know.
Because I played...
I just pretty much use Origin for EA stuff.
Yeah, I guess
Mass
I don't know
Effect
if
2 does not do that.
Because I played Jedi Fallen Order on Steam.
Yeah.
And I think like it doesn't open up. Well, it opens up Origin, but it doesn't like open it up. Like it loads something and then it like closes. So.
Yeah, I think people were mad because if you didn't have Origin already downloaded on your computer, you have to, download it. Mm-hmm. Which I can understand why.
And for some reason, people have a problem with browser or launchers. I've never felt that. Like
Same.
It's not that hard to manage them all. Like, sure, it's annoying to download different things. Like that's the thing that's annoying, is keeping all your games up to date. But that's not a specific launcher's problem.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Totally, dude.
I'd like to
Jacob,
say
I'm
that
going to
I'll
let
play
you talk
that one
about
day.
Destiny 2.
I'm
going to let you talk about Destiny 2.
Oh, that's not good. I don't have a lot to say about it. So this last Tuesday, Bungie had their little live stream reveal thing, and basically they just gave the outline of like what the next 3 years are going to be, in terms of like they have 3 more expansions lined up at the very least. and they're all like they made it seem like they were all Taken King sized expansions, which is cool. The first one's called Beyond Light, which is the one coming this fall, and the cool thing is that they're like adding the ability to use darkness, which is cool. It's something people have been asking for or speculating for a long time. You're going to a Europa, which was teased in the teaser trailers that we talked about last week. So there'll be a brand new playable space. And the Stranger from Destiny 1 that was in the whole like initial storyline is back, which is really cool for fans that were like wondering where the heck she's been all this time. Like, what is she doing? So I think it's cool that Bungie's sort of, taking what the players want and tying up loose threads. I think that's really cool. And it shows that they care about their community a lot. And Bungie's done a lot of things like that. So I think Bungie's like one of the better developers out there in terms of like listening to their players and trying to, like cater their game to what the players really like. Like a lot of people criticize Blizzard for this because they're not only are they very, very slow to like change things, but they often do things that the community do not want because they think that they might know better. So I like that Bungie is very responsive in terms of their community. But that was really what stuck out to me. There's a lot of things that they're adding and changing, but it looks cool. There's a chance that I jump in and play the story this fall. But I know it's not going to be a thing where I'm like, I'm back playing Destiny, right? Like I'm doing the raids, I'm doing my weekly Nightfall. Like that's not going to be me. I don't think it ever will be. But
if they have it's a situation where they level you up to meet the expansion, like they have done in the past, then I might dabble in it a bit. Yeah. Preston, will this draw you back in at all? Like if the three of us were like, hey, let's just mess around with it and see how we like it.
No, I'm gonna try it out. I always try out all the new big Destiny stuff.
Yeah. So. I think the main thing is not only just the new like Europa going there, but also like they're literally adding a new element into the game, which they haven't done before. Like it's not just going to be Solar, Arc, and Void. It'll be also Darkness. So it'll be new potential for metas, new enemy shields, all that stuff.
The darkness.
A little more RPG in the RPG, which is cool.
Totally, dude. Gentlemen, that brings us to AskIOG. AskIOG is the part of the show where we answer your questions submitted through any of our socials at ItsObviousGaming, the AskIOG section of our Discord channel, or emailed to us at itsobviousgaming@gmail.com. If you want your question read live on the show, always include the hashtag AskIOG. First one comes from Joe Bingaman. He says, hey boys, I started listening to you guys in 2017 and love that you're back on your once-a-week schedule. With the rumors of the Harry Potter open world game surfacing for like the 18th time, what are some specific gameplay features you'd like to see in the game? It could be anything from spells, potions, magical objects like the Marauders map, which could be cool for a mini-map, the invisibility cloak. Personally, I'd love to see what animal my Patronus would be in the game. Stay safe out there. Joe, thank you so much for tuning in for the last 3 years. We are grateful for your support and writing in about Harry Potter, because I know the three of us are losing our minds for the potential of this game that is seemingly leaked and been rumored for a while now. Two things I'll say before, because I want Preston to take the floor in this for a minute. We have addressed the initial leaks, the initial leaked trailer a couple of years ago now. Whenever it first leaked, Jacob and I spent, I think, 45 minutes or longer talking about our fantasies for this game based on the footage that leaked. So on our YouTube channel, it's probably hard to dig up, but it's on our YouTube channel. I could share it on Discord if you message me and you want to see it. But we talk about it in depth, very passionately for about 45 minutes. So you can check that out if you want to hear our really in-depth thoughts. And we will, of course, based on what I want Preston to share off these leaks that he thinks he has discovered that may or not be true. But based on everything he shared with me about games recently, they've all been true. So I'm just going to assume these are at least relatively true. But that being said, Preston, if you're willing to pull up that list you texted me, that image, and just read through them real quick, I think that'll generate like a really fun conversation. I'm
not reading through all of them because
there's not like that many, are there? I mean, I'll read them.
Yeah, it was like I just want to say if we go another hour, I'm not even going to be able to upload this. We've already been going over 2 hours. Let me find the text.
Yeah, and to jump onto that, like we don't have to read all the questions if you guys don't want to. Like I literally compile all the questions that we get every week and I just put them on here. Like if we ever just want to cut off and save some for next week, we can do that. But I do like this question.
Oh, there it is. I found it.
This is a good question.
Yeah, I'm still looking for the text I sent you.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
Crap. Continue. Read more. Let's see how many.
I've been trying to find this Reddit thread.
Okay, I'll blow through this real quick. I won't read it word for word, but
I just want to say though, this is just a random Reddit thread that claims this guy knows. Yeah. So nobody's claiming this is legit.
Mm-hmm.
The ideas are interesting though if they're true.
Yeah. So it says this guy claims he works for WB Marketing. He says they plan this year to show off this game among others. Here's what I know about the game. It won't be called Harry Potter anything. Instead, it's called Hogwarts: A Dark Legacy. Number 1, you get to customize your character. It's not super detailed, but the models look good. Male or female, you're a 5th-year student at Hogwarts who transfers from another wizard school. I don't know why, but it's a major plot detail later in the game. You may play all the way through until graduation, and then in your first year as an Auror, ? You also get to determine if your character is Muggle-born, pureblood, or half-blood. That decision will provide unique dialogue and minor quest options. Based on decisions you make regarding your character and the creation screen determines the house you get sorted into at Hogwarts. Side note on that detail, let's just pretend that's true. That works, it's cool, but my hope was that your house is determined based on gameplay choices you make in the opening of the game. I think it would have been perfect if, whether you're a 5th year or a 1st year, you go to Diagon Alley, and while your quest line is acquiring your school supplies, but along the way, there are little side moments that you can interact with characters, conversations you can have, choices you can make that determine. And it'd be cool if it's like there's a gray area. It's not just like clearly black and white, because then there's 4 houses to choose from based on dialogue options, based on actions you make, and this quest line you follow through gathering your school supplies. Even like the trip to Hogwarts and the Hogwarts Express, things happening throughout, that determines your course of action. That way it's all baked into gameplay versus just answering questions on a list in the character creation screen. Does the same thing, but I think it'd be cool if it was baked into gameplay. So that's my one.
And to piggyback off of that, like you're saying, like I think it's an important enough decision to take away enjoyment from someone if they don't get the house that they want, I think. But at the same time, I think it's like really important. Like if that's not the case, like you can't necessarily control, you don't have a whole lot of say of where you go. It's really important for each house to be compelling, and they need to give you reasons to want to be there. Like heck, even make Hufflepuff like the best house to be in. Like do something like that. Like make it so interesting that you want to be a Hufflepuff. Like even if you can't choose, like make it worth it. But they'll probably let you control it to some degree, I imagine.
So I imagine like answering questions on a character creation screen is not that different from like Pottermore, where you can like answer questions like a quiz. I mean, you can do that online already. So I would hope that if that rumor is true, then what I'm presenting would be the reality. That's what I've always fantasized about, at least as a Harry Potter fan. Next one says, each of the 4 houses has a unique quest line. However, regardless of the house you are in, you can't side with the villain. You cannot side with the villain. That doesn't mean you will make good decisions all the time. We were told that there are major moments of the game that can result in the deaths of important characters based on your decisions. Number 4, game takes place after Harry Potter series and after his children go to and graduate from Hogwarts. Was told the main antagonist is not Voldemort level, but is a formidable and former Death Eater. There are multiple antagonists of the game, expectations for multiple sequels. Your character has a set last name that everyone will call him or her by. Multiple book characters make appearances, however, they are keeping this under wraps. Expect Harry Potter to make an appearance at some point. That makes pretty cool if like Harry Potter hires you as an Auror after you graduate. If that rumor's true, that'd be pretty sweet.
Just seeing him at all is going to be cool, if that's a thing.
Skill tree is robust, 5 different branches to focus your character's magical abilities as well as perks that can unlock after X amount of points in a tree. We were shown a perk that allows your character to slow combat for a brief moment, another perk that allowed you to control monsters for a certain amount of time. There's also good and evil points. If you veer towards evil, you can learn more powerful spells. However, you cannot learn any of the major forbidden ones, unfortunately. There is classroom assignments that have difficult puzzles, which can provide significant bonuses to your character. Side moment about that, I think it'd be cool if quests or story moments, like, you have to go to class, but there's this option to like pursue this clue. Kind of like in the movies and the books, like they need to go do something to skip class. And if you choose to skip class, maybe you get some sort of upgrade or perk or something that helps you along in the story. But if you skip class, you're missing out on like an upgrade or skill tree that would in turn, like you would advance faster if you went to class. I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if there were stakes.
You got to be careful about that because you don't want players to never do things because there's always something else they could be doing and then they can't do something because they haven't been going to class or something.
Right, but I think
you have to be careful with that.
There's probably risk reward to everything. Like I think in a well-developed game with decisions like that, there's risk reward to everything.
Yeah. But there's got to be limitations. Like you can't just skip class every single day.
Yeah, because then you can't graduate. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a way around that, but if that's even remotely true, we'll see. So story and combat are slow burn, but we were told the game builds up in some insane moments. Combat is fluid, but relies on timing and tactics. You cannot button mash and win. Your character also has so much energy at a given time. You fight other wizards, creatures, etc. There's also a duel system for rivals. And non-missions, your character doesn't reload from a previous save, instead wakes up in the infirmary with some temporary negative effects. I love that. I think that's awesome. If that's real. If any of this is real. A reimagined version of the Nemesis system is used like in Shadow of the Mordor games. It's not as robust as those games in terms of quantity, but instead is very detailed on a few rivals it generates. It creates rivals for your character. The main rival is randomly generated via this system. However, he or she will be unique to each playthrough, however voiced by the same voice actors. This rival can be beaten, killed, or made an ally based on decisions you make in the game. Lots of exploring. Big hubs offer a lot of NPCs with interactions, secrets, quests. Hogwarts, Hogsmeade, and the Ministry are the three I know of. Not sure what the fourth one is. Most of the game takes place at Hogwarts. However, you'll have missions in some surprising locations, and the end game takes place in London, where you work for the Ministry. I'll blow through the rest of this. Game can get extremely dark. Expect a T or M rating. I highly doubt there's an M rating for this game. I'd be surprised if there's even a T rating. Quidditch is in the game, and it's very detailed. You can play every year. House points are in the game. A card game is also in there. We are told as detailed as Gwent. I think it's safe to assume the Quidditch has to be in the game because it's just amazing. And every good Harry Potter open world game we've had in the past has featured some level of broomstick riding, and an in-depth Quidditch game would be phenomenal. That's one of my biggest hopes for the game. You play as a different character at some point in the game. I believe it's the main antagonist, but I don't know. A few missions, blah, 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 blah. Missions as the Aura were inspired by LA Noir's investigations. However, there isn't many, not sure if of the actual amount. There are romance options. Expect a trailer and gameplay before August. Game is expected to be released around June of 2021. I hope most of that is true.
Yeah, some of it seems a little too good to be true.
It does, doesn't it?
Hope just like a full-on game at Hogwarts, and then in London, like that just seems like a lot.
That's a big game.
Yeah. So I don't know. Even if none of that's true, I thought there were just to like answer the question, things that you would like in the game. I think that just had a lot of things that I personally would like to be in the game.
Yeah. Agreed.
Oh, yeah. Well, Joe, again, if anyone wants to hear like our in-depth conversation about that Harry Potter game, it is on YouTube. I can share it if you guys like. But like you guys said, sounds too good to be true, but I'm hoping most of it is. Vanover59 writes in and says, "Hello, good sirs. I'm from the heart of Bourbon County country in Lexington, Kentucky, and was wondering what was your go-to choice for a good bourbon when you play games. I think I've heard Garrett mention Four Roses before. For example, as I sit down to replay The Last of Us before the sequel comes out, I'm sipping on some Woodford Reserve Double Oaked in a glass with one big-ass ice ball. Also meant to say this last week, but congrats on the new job, Preston."
Thank you.
In terms of bourbon, Woodford Reserve is my favorite. I also love it in a glass with a big-ass ice ball. My dad has those ice makers that make that type of ice. I don't have that in my apartment, but Woodford is my favorite. Right now I have bourbon called, I can't see it from here. It's called, I can't remember. But I actually was enjoying it last night playing through The Last of Us. So I can wholeheartedly relate to having a nice glass of bourbon while playing through games.
Yeah. You can actually see mine. It's here. That's
Nice.
Knob Creek right there. And that one is Four Roses, I think.
Nice.
But I don't drink a whole lot of bourbon. It's something where I'll like do it for a while and then I'll just stop. So both of those bottles back there are kind of old, but I do enjoy it on occasion. But I don't really drink them when I game necessarily. It's not something I do. But whenever I do it, it's, you know, doesn't take away anything from when I game. It's just, I don't know. Whenever I drink, I usually do it in a more social setting with other people. So, what about you, Preston?
I don't drink. So
there we go.
I have some bullet bourbon, but that's if I'm gonna drink, I'll drink some bourbon. But I do it so infrequently that I really don't have a favorite.
Do you ever drink it straight, or do you always like mix it with a Coke or something?
Typically with a Coke.
Yeah. I've just started drinking it more straight over the last few years. I don't know. I don't necessarily hate the taste of it anymore. Like when I first started drinking, I hated the taste of whiskey, bourbon, anything really. But I don't know. You just sort of, I guess you get over it and you just drink it. Like I wouldn't say bourbon tastes good, but it doesn't taste bad. Like
I think it can be an acquired taste. I mean, it depends on the bourbon, but I think Woodford, for example, even like neat tastes amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, it's an acquired taste. You're right.
Yeah, I like it straight and neat on like a freezing cold night. Like when I was exploring Brooklyn and New York a couple of months ago before the pandemic hit, it was super cold outside, and I stopped in like a local pub just to get bourbon, literally to warm myself up, and it worked. It felt great. Yeah, so it was a good little pit stop on my journey that night. But Vanover, thanks for writing in, and we can wholeheartedly relate to enjoying some bourbon. At least I can in terms of playing a game, enjoying it. So thanks for writing in. Hipster Speedster, Sam Harris writes in and says, "Greetings, oh magnificent gaming overlords. First, a bit of an update. I'm leaving my current job in a couple of weeks. I'm excited to take some different time off before moving on to the next chapter of my life. Sam, I am thrilled to hear that, and I'd love to hear more about it if you message me and tell me about it." He says, "Second, here's my question. The PS5 presentation was pretty good. I enjoyed the look of the console and the games have me excited. Now that both major consoles have revealed how they're going to appear, will both companies begin a bidding war for price? Who will make the first move? And will the prices make or break the projected sales for either console? Have a great week. And remember, the next week is the return of the IOG Masters. I'm going to be plugging away this weekend and writing this new chapter." Sam, thank you in advance for that next chapter. We will read through it. Last episode was pretty thrilling, so I'm excited to see what the IOG Masters get up to in the next one. It's a fair assumption to make about the bidding war. Obviously, these companies cannot wait till the last minute to reveal the price points. On one hand, I think Preston is a great man, but Sony has had huge success with this previous generation, with their exclusives and their reputation, and they, I think, going into the next generation they can't be too crazy about it, but I think they can up the price, obviously, from PS4, which is inevitable, and people won't entirely lose their minds. I think they'd like to be able to reveal their price after Xbox like they did last generation, because it hit so much harder when it was $100 cheaper. But it is interesting to determine how these prices will compare to one another, because as we know, the Xbox is objectively built to be more powerful in many ways than the PlayStation, but the PlayStation in many ways has its own perks, and the libraries are entirely different as well. So and when it comes just to hardware, it's difficult to determine how similar in price they will be. And I'm sure Xbox would like to be cheaper if they can get away with it, just to kind of pull off what Sony did last generation. But I don't know. I know we've kind of guessed we think the PlayStation might be 600, potentially 700, but 600 is what we're hoping for. What do you guys think about Xbox? You have any predictions?
I think if the Xbox wants to compete, they almost need to be cheaper than PS4 or PS5. Because, I mean, not everyone thinks like this, right? But we all have PCs, right? Like, we all are not, for as far as I know, not getting the Xbox because of that reason alone. We can play all these games on our PC. And, I mean, a lot of people are like us, right? Like, they have PCs, but a lot of people also don't. And they're also thinking, I can play most of these Xbox games on my PS5 if I get one of those, because they're just third-party games. And Sony offers a lot more in terms of their first-party library, at least right now, from what we know. We still haven't seen Xbox's show, which is sometime this summer. I don't remember when they said it was going to be. But I think that's the problem, right? Because if you're like an avid video game player, you know that Xbox exclusives aren't necessarily exclusive to that machine. So they need more ways to compel people to buy the Xbox, in my opinion, because there are less reasons to own one than a PS5. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like they're already putting themselves behind. Like I think the sticking point of their games being available in other places is really hurting them more than it's not hurting them. But that's my opinion. Like it's preventing me from even buying the console. I mean, I'm happy about it. I'm glad I don't have to buy it. Yeah. But
I mean, if Halo Infinite was only coming to Series X, I would have to buy Series X because I've always played Halo and I have to play it. So.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I think Xbox knows that, and I think they don't care. So,
and that's fine. I'm thankful for that because you know I'd rather play everything on PC, honestly. Mm-hmm. And you know, if I'd feel the exact same way about PS5 if all those games were coming to PC. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, in terms of like the bidding war and stuff, I mean, I think Xbox is going to unveil their price first, and I think that they'll probably try and be cheaper, just to, like you said, try and maybe entice people that way with it being the more powerful console and it being, cheaper. I think that's like an easy thing to like repeat to sell it.
Yeah.
So,
and what was I gonna say? Isn't it awful when you try to speak up and then you don't even remember what you're gonna say? God, what was I gonna say? Everyone, stop looking at me.
You look real handsome, Jacob. It's hard not
thank
to.
You. I've lost it. Just ignore me.
It's okay, Jacob. We still love you. I think that's all we have to say about price points, but it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure we're going to find out sooner than later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big finale. Big nasty. Writes in and says, happy to hear Preston has found our Lord and Savior, doctor, lawyer, scientist, and 5-star chef Dr. Greg Duché. The French toast is great, but you need to microwave frozen berries and put those on them. Also, definitely try his protein ice cream. The popcorn is also a nightly snack for me. By counting calories and listening to what he said, along with YouTubers like Tennyson, Buff Dudes, I've lost 30 pounds in a little over 3 months. That is nice amazing. Job. That's amazing. Also, Garrett, I gave The Ghost Inside another try and listened to their new album, and have to say I enjoyed it much more than their few songs at the top of their Spotify page. Standouts for me were Still Alive, along with that awesome drum intro, Pressure Point, and Begin Again. I'll have to listen more to find out more favorites, but those are what stood out.
Wasn't Pressure Point the one that you said you didn't like?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's a good song. It's an awesome song. Yeah. It's just like lyrically, it's an angrier tune. So lyrically, it doesn't appeal to me, but musically, it's awesome. But going along with those awesome album intros, what are some of y'all's favorite album intros? Personally, Metallica's third album, Injustice for All, has easily my favorite metal intro. All the strings and harmony, crescendo to create something I could only describe as sounding like a weeping angel, which is fitting for the album. It's also played backwards, which just sounds cool. Big Nasty, I'm glad to hear you like the new Ghost Inside tunes. Yeah, I haven't looked at the Spotify top songs, but the ones that I see reoccurring on playlists, like metalcore playlist, hardcore playlist, and other songs that are deemed to be the most popular are ironically some of my least favorite as well. But that's cool. I'm glad to hear that you're liking the new album. As far as intros, the first one comes to mind for me is Lyrion by Asking Alexandria. That's just classic, a classic early 2000s metalcore intro. It's a good one for me.
Do you think when he says intro, do you think he means just like literally like things that are labeled as intros, or like just the first song on albums? Can that be an intro too?
I mean, I feel like some songs are, some intros to albums are full on songs, and others are like shorter songs that are meant to be like an introduction to an album. I think
Right.
Ahrling's a classic example of that. Metallica's is a good example.
Yeah, that's my question. Like, which
Ghost
one?
Inside's album Returners, their sophomore album, has an intro song called "Walk Away from the World," which is really good too. I like that intro. Those are two that come to mind immediately. What about you guys?
I like Veil of Maya's album Eclipse. Their 20 over 200 intro song is really awesome. Has like these choirs slowly coming in to build up the opening tune. There's no like vocals in it or anything. It's just a breakdown pretty much with just some like spooky choir things over it. So I think it's a cool like mood set for the whole album.
Yeah. Of course, I'm going to bring up Linkin Park because anytime I talk about music, I have to. On their fourth album, their album, that's the album that's most experimental, I would say. And the opening track is Requiem, and it's a really good tune. And then right after that, it opens up to like I think it's a civil rights speech, and I think it was given by MLK. I should have done more research on it, just because I love the album so much. But yeah, just those two tracks, like, and then it leads into the first song after that, and it's like it just sets up the whole album incredibly well. And then also, like, there's just many albums that I really enjoy the first song in, and I could go through several albums just mentioning those, but a few are like I really like That's the Teen Spirit, the Bring Me the Horizon album, and I think the opening track on that is really good. And also their newest album, I think it was called Ammo, which is, I think it's love in a different language. Or no, it's father. Ammo is father. But the opening track in that, and that's another experimental album. It's really trippy and wacky, so I like that one too. So
Cool,
Bring Me
nice.
the Horizon has some good ones.
I haven't
And
listened to
that
their new
band's
stuff
really
in a
grown
while.
on me the last year. I really like them now.
I haven't listened to their last two albums, I think.
Those are my two favorite albums by them.
Oh, wow.
I like their old stuff less than their newer stuff, which is weird.
Yeah, I
Of
really
course,
like
I love the
it's
bangers like
Sepraternal, is that how you say it? I
Yeah.
really like that album a lot.
What was that one song called?
Off that album?
Shadow Moses.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a great song.
Yeah, that's a good song.
Call
I
out
would jam
to
that today. It's been a
Metal
while.
Gear Solid.
Mm-hmm.
Sick, dude. This was a really fun episode. That brings us to a close on 235, talking about Last of Us, PlayStation 5. And
Oh,
some
I did
awesome-
want to say I have tried the protein ice cream. It's very good.
Nice.
Big fan of Greg Doucette and Will Tennyson and Buff Dudes. Those are really good channels.
Nice.
Gentlemen, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you to each and every one of you who wrote in amazing questions that really supplemented all the topics this week and brought more conversation to PlayStation and Last of Us and Harry Potter and everything in between. So we are grateful for your continued support and for tuning in. We love you guys to bits. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play, many other streaming services, including the YouTube version, which includes, of course, our faces on a Zoom call, as well as all the B-roll associated with every single game we've talked about today. It's going to be a monster of an edit for me. But for those of you that enjoy an engaging video experience, it is available to you on youtube.com/ItsObviousGaming. We encourage you guys to subscribe there because it is only a matter of time until we kick Let's Plays back into high gear. Our schedules continue to conflict in spite of the pandemic, which is really a bummer, but we will crank out some Let's Plays in time. And so we encourage you guys to subscribe. And of course, if you're willing to take the time to rate, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcast, even if you don't listen there, it helps us grow over time because we'd love to be able to grow the community, not only just in terms of people who tune in, but people who are able to join our Discord. If you haven't joined it, we encourage you to do so. It is an amazing, engaging, fun, supportive, receptive community. So we encourage you guys to join into the conversation at any time. Share your creations in the community content section. And there's a lot of fun discussion happening there. So we'd love to see you. But that is it for me. It's been a pleasure, gentlemen. Any closing thoughts?
I will leave with this. Please write in and let us know why you are buying the PS5 over the Xbox Series X. It's important that we know why you're getting that one over the other one, because we know that's what you're doing. Let's not beat around the bush.
And you got to be honest, man. The Xbox has never been a better footstool than the Series X because it has that extra height.
I saw that meme with the Xbox, and there's a table on top.
Yeah, especially with the heat coming out of the top. Nice for your feet.
Man. It's perfect. Yeah. That alone may be worth the investment.
Yeah. I think I'll leave you with that right there. I think that's a good way to end it.
All right, gentlemen. Well, I love you to bits. We love you guys to bits. And we'll catch you next week.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.